Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the fanfiction guy. Back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Awakens Last True Dragon. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku Yagi had faced numerous challenges in his life after being diagnosed as quirkless. He felt neglected by his parents, Inko and Toshinori Yagi, and often found himself on the receiving end of bullying from his sister and her friends, Katsuki and Katsumi Bakugo, as well as Shoto and Shoka Todoroki. The only person who showed him kindness was Himiko Toga, someone he secretly admired. As he walked home one day, he reflected on his struggles. Why do my sister and her friends have to be so cruel? Izuku thought, glancing down at his torn shirt, which bore burn marks and traces of blood. He could feel the pain of broken ribs beneath his skin. As he walked under a bridge, the echoes of Katsuki's explosions still ringing in his ears, he didn't notice the manhole cover being lifted. Suddenly, a green, sickly liquid enveloped him, and though it spoke to him, he couldn't comprehend it due to his earlier ordeal. So this is where I meet my end. At least my suffering will be over, he thought, but then he remembered Toga and how he had never confessed his feelings to her. Just as despair began to take hold, a familiar voice broke through the darkness. I am here! All Might shouted as he burst through the manhole. Detroit's smash, he declared, striking the villain and freeing Izuku, who promptly lost consciousness. As Izuku began to regain awareness, he felt gentle slaps on his face. Opening his eyes, he saw All Might and shot up, reaching for his hero book, only to find that All Might had already signed it. Well, it looks like you're okay now. I have to take this villain to the police, All Might said, preparing to leap away. All Might, sir, can I ask you something? Can a quirkless person be a hero like you? Izuku inquired. All Might's expression shifted to one of surprise before returning to his serious demeanor. It's good to dream, kid, but you need to be realistic. You might want to consider becoming a firefighter or a police officer. If you tried to be a hero, you could become a liability on the field. With that, All Might jumped away, unaware of how deeply his words affected the 14-year-old boy. As Izuku continued his walk home, he overheard All Might speaking to someone and decided to listen in. I am here. What? Izuku recognized his sister, Izumi's voice immediately. Now, calm down, Izumi, All Might said, then transformed back into Toshinori Yagi, his father, and began explaining the history of his quirk, one for all. Okay, Dad, but if it's a transferable quirk, why not give it to Izuku? Izumi asked. Well, he's weak and doesn't have the heart of a hero. Unlike you, he lacks a strong quirk, Toshinori replied, further shattering Izuku's spirit. His back and head throbbed, but he couldn't focus on the pain as he ran away, desperate to escape the hurtful words. In the distance, he heard an explosion and rushed toward it, hoping to find solace in witnessing heroes in action. Little did he know, this would lead him to a new chapter in his life. When he arrived, he was met with a sight he wished he could unsee. Toga was being held hostage by the sludge villain that had attacked him earlier, while the hero stood by, seemingly paralyzed. Izuku's heart raced as he tried to push past the heroes, but they held him back. In that moment, his eyes locked onto Toga's, and he saw the fear in her gaze as she began to lose consciousness. I'm sorry, Izu. I hope you live a long and beautiful life. I love you, was her final thought as her eyes fluttered closed. Izuku screamed, fading in and out of consciousness as he felt a transformation begin within him. He was becoming something powerful, a shadow dragon. What he didn't realize was that All Might, now in his true form, descended from the sky and freed Toga, while Izuku, in his dragon form, unleashed his fury on the heroes who had restrained him. The dragon's shadowy tendrils bound the heroes, and its fierce roars echoed through the air. All Might, having dealt with the sludge villain, turned to see the dragon wreaking havoc. He knew he had to intervene. United States of Smash, he shouted, launching his most powerful attack. When the dust settled, the dragon remained standing, missing an arm but still defiant. The crowd watched in awe as the creature took to the skies, disappearing from view. All Might stood there, astonished. How is that beast still standing after my attack? I hope it's not a villain. I need to understand this, he thought, as the police arrived to manage the chaos and tend to those in need. All Might sat in Recovery Girl's office at UA, watching the news unfold. Earlier this afternoon, a villain attacked a young middle school girl named Toga Himiko. A young boy attempted to help her, witnessing the heroes in action. They are likely friends. Right before All Might saved Himiko, the boy began transforming into a dragon, the news reporter announced. Detective Naomasa Tokachi entered the room. Tokachi, what are you doing here? All Might asked. I'm here to discuss your encounter with the dragon, which we've now identified as your son, Izuku Yagi. Tokachi replied, somewhat nervously, as they had identified him from the arm that had been lost. What do you mean? Son is quirkless and incapable. There's no way he turned into that beast, All Might asserted. Well, Tokachi hesitated at the mention of son. There have been cases where a quirk is so dormant that the person appears to be quirkless. As for why it awakened, it could have been triggered by strong emotions. Do you know how his school life has been and if anything significant happened in the last 48 hours? No, why would I pay attention to that quirkless brat? All Might spat with disdain. You just lied to my face. What happened, or what did you do? Tokachi asked, concerned for Izuku's home life. Fine. He had a run-in with that sludge villain before I saved young Himiko, and he asked if he could be a hero without a quirk. I told him no, All Might admitted begrudgingly. But he was on his way home, so I don't know why he was there. Okay, thanks for your cooperation. I'll be heading off to see the Himikos, Tokachi said before walking out. Toga's point of view. I felt pain in my head, my limbs, and for some reason, my heart felt heavy, as if it knew something bad had happened. I started to open my eyes but squinted at the bright light, adjusting slowly. When my vision cleared, I saw my mom and dad looking very concerned. When they noticed I was awake, my dad spoke first. How are you feeling, honey? He asked with great concern. To be honest, my whole body hurts, especially my head and my heart. Also, why am I in a hospital? Toga replied, looking around the white room. Do you not remember the villain attack and the dragon that All Might fought against? Her mom asked. Toga recalled the villain and how she saw Izuku trying to reach her, but not the dragon. Mom, do you know where Izuku is? Toga asked anxiously, just as Tokachi walked in. I was hoping you could tell me your connection to Izuku, as we currently do not know where he is, Tokachi said, and all eyes in the room turned to him. What do you mean you don't know where Izuku is? He was in the front trying to get to me. Toga exclaimed, confused. Well, I'm sure you, he gestured to Mr. and Mrs. Himiko, saw the news about the dragon, yes? Tokachi continued. Of course we did. You don't see a villain pop out of nowhere that can match All Might, Mr. Himiko stated plainly. Well, we have identified that dragon as Izuku Yagi, Tokachi said, causing the Himiko's mouths to drop open in shock. What? Isn't he quirkless? Mr. Himiko asked. We believe his quirk awakened due to the events of the day, triggered by the attack, Tokachi explained nonchalantly. Okay, so Izuku and I are friends. His school life was terrible, and so was mine because of my quirk and his quirklessness, so we became friends after we met, Toga said, a mix of happiness and sadness in her voice. What do you mean terrible? Tokachi asked, growing even more concerned than when he spoke to All Might about his own son. Well, Izuku told me he was neglected at home ever since he was diagnosed as quirkless, and he often got beaten up after school. He never told me who did it, but if I had to guess, it would be his sister Izumi, Katsuki Bakugo, and Shoto Todoroki, because I would see them glare at him, Toga explained. Why do you ask? Well, in order to have a quirk awakening like he did, he would need to have strong built-up emotions that burst out when you were attacked, Tokachi said, deep in thought. I believe that's all for now. If I need more information, I know where to find you. He began to walk out, but Toga interrupted. Please, sir, you need to find him. You have to do everything to get him away from his family and home to me, Toga pleaded, tears in her eyes. I will, Tokachi replied as he left. Izuku's point of view. Day after the fight. I woke up feeling excruciating pain throughout my body, especially on my right side. As I looked around, I saw towering trees about 40 feet tall, with patches of grass here and there, and the ground was mostly covered in pebbles. I looked up to see snow-capped stone peaks, reminiscent of a mountain. Then I glanced at my right side and realized I was missing my arm up to the shoulder. Panic surged through me. How am I not dead? A wound like this would normally kill someone or at least require hospitalization for months, and it's not even bleeding, I thought. Well, let's see, I don't know where I am, have no food and no water. Water is the most important right now, so I should find a river or stream to set up camp near. I wandered around searching for water well into the night. As I walked, flashbacks of the fight played in my mind, though I didn't remember it clearly. It was around 11 p.m., but despite the darkness, I could see perfectly. Deciding it was late, I found a tree to sleep in, climbing about 15 feet off the ground to a sturdy branch, away from most animals. Before drifting off, I had one last thought. Tomorrow, I will find food and experiment to discover the abilities of my new quirk. Then, I fell asleep. Around 4 a.m., I was rudely awakened by a bear trying to reach me. Fear gripped me. I had no real control over my quirk. He tried to recall the fight, attempting to use his shadows to bind the bear in place and create a weapon, but nothing worked. Instead, he felt rain, saw lightning, and heard thunder, even though it hadn't been raining just moments before. Determined, he tried to attack the bear again, and suddenly, a massive lightning bolt struck the bear. A surge of pride and accomplishment filled him, and he let out a triumphant roar. Now that he had some control, all he needed to do was find shelter from the rain. He climbed down from the tree and set out to gather sticks and explore the area. After about 2 hours, he returned to his tree, arms full of supplies, while his shadow dragged 2 decent-sized tree trunks behind him. Lost in thought, he didn't notice the pair of dark red glowing eyes watching him. When he reached his tree, he began to set up a teepee-style shelter around it, leaving space in front for a fire. Suddenly, he paused, locking eyes with the glowing red pair. "Come out now!" Izuku shouted at the unknown being. To his surprise, it revealed itself, and he felt an instinct to either run or kneel, but he stood his ground, seeking answers. "What are you?" Izuku asked, slightly trembling. "I am very similar to you," the unknown dragon replied. "Now, who are you, and why are you on my mountain?" "I came here by accident. I transformed into something like you, got into a fight, and lost my right arm from what I remember," Izuku said nonchalantly. "Oh, and my name is Izuku. What is yours?" "It has been many ages since anyone has asked my name, boy, but you can call me Zachariah. Now tell me, what did you transform into during the fight?" The dragon, now known as Zachariah, inquired. "Well, I turned into something like you, but it had control over shadows," Izuku explained. "What can you do in that form?" "Shadow? Earlier, you used the powers of a lightning dragon, but do you truly have control over shadows?" "To answer your question, I can wield fire, ice, and, to some extent, shadows," Zachariah said proudly. "Yeah, I can use shadows. See." Izuku reached out his hand, and one of the sticks he had gathered lifted off the ground, moved by his shadow. "How long have you been able to do this?" Zachariah asked, intrigued. "Only about 2 or 3 days." "Why?" Izuku replied. "Well, when there were more dragons, most shadow dragons were warriors, so they didn't engage in gentle tasks like that. Now that I've seen your abilities, and considering you have control over 2 elements, I have a proposition for you," Zachariah said. "What is this proposition?" Izuku asked, curious. "Come and live with me, and I will train you in your abilities. In return, you will take over my mantle as the last true dragon," Zachariah stated, a hint of concern in his voice. "Deal," Izuku said, firmly. "Then come along, young one," Zachariah replied happily. With that, they began their journey to the peak of the mountain. Izuku's POV. It had been a couple of hours of walking, and Izuku wondered when they would reach Zachariah's home, which resembled an old Japanese temple perched on a plateau. How is Zachariah going to fit in there? I should just ask him. Zachariah, how are you going to fit in there like that?" Izuku asked. "By doing this." Zaccaria began to shrink down and transform into a more human-like appearance. That is cool! Izuku exclaimed with enthusiasm. One day, Izuku, your body will adapt an appearance similar to this, but with your own scale, eye and hair color, Zaccaria said. Now, for today, you will rest after we make dinner together. Tomorrow, you will meditate and try to reach out to your shadow control since it is much less explosive. Yes, sensei, Izuku replied. Third-person POV. They walked into the house, and Zack, from now on he will be referred to as Zack, guided Izuku to the kitchen to start cooking. It took Izuku longer than expected to make the curry he was attempting, so after dinner, he was led to his room and went to sleep. Time skipped to morning. Zack knocked on Izuku's bedroom door, but there was no response. He opened the door and gently pulled the sheets off Izuku's bed, revealing his slightly startled form. Concerned for his successor, Zack lightly tapped Izuku's face with his tail to wake him up. Izuku's eyes widened in realization of where he was, and tears began to flow. So it wasn't a dream, Izuku said, crying harder. Zack decided to hold him until he calmed down. Why are you crying, young one? Zack asked, his voice laced with concern. Because it wasn't a dream. I have a quirk, and you saved me from my family, Izuku said, the word family dripping with disdain. Zack noticed. Why do you say family like that? Zack inquired. Because my parents neglected me and let my sister and her friends hurt me, Izuku admitted, his tears subsiding. Well, there is something I can do about that, Zack stated. What can you do? Izuku asked, curious. I can infuse my blood into you, severing your blood ties to them, and it will enhance your dragon abilities. Unfortunately, it will be painful, but afterward, if you wish, we can start training, Zack explained. I'll do it, Izuku replied firmly. Follow me, Zack instructed, leading Izuku down the hallway and up the staircase to a room that was about 15 by 15 feet. In the center was a circle with inscriptions. Go into the middle of that and drink this, Zack said, grabbing a cup, cutting his hand, and filling the cup with his blood. Now drink it. Izuku drank it all, and Zack placed his hands on the outer circle, which began to glow. Okay, where is the pain? Ah! Izuku cried out, convulsing for a moment before it stopped. Can I move now? He asked, panting. Yes, I'm surprised you didn't lose consciousness from that, Zack said happily. Now it's time to train so you can get into the college you want. Okay, by the way, what is your last name? Izuku asked. Drigo, why? Zack replied. Well, since you just blood adopted me, that means I am your son and should have your last name. Besides, I don't like mine, Izuku stated. Okay, now come along. Son. With that, they walked out to the courtyard to train. Small time skip. Concentrate, reach inside yourself, and focus on the shadows. Try to create something from them, Zack instructed. Izuku was sitting on a platform resting atop a stone spike. After a minute or two, he formed a scythe out of shadows. Good. Now, what are your favorite weapons? Zack asked. I like swords. Why? Izuku replied. I will train you to use both sword and scythe. But before we do that, we need to build your physical strength and stamina. You will do 50 push-ups, pull-ups, and squats, increasing each month by 50, along with a 10-kilometer run, increasing by 10 every month while wearing weights. You will be doing this for the next 3 years and 2 months. I will give you 10 months to readjust to the outside world, but you must keep up your training, Zack stated. 854 words. Toga's POV, 2 weeks after the incident. It had been 2 weeks since Izuku went missing. No one could find him. It was as if he had just vanished. The question lingered in her mind. When would he come back to her? For all she knew, he might think she was dead, which could explain his rage. At least he had awakened his quirk. She resolved to confess her feelings to him when he returned. If he was alive. No, he was alive. She would see him at UA in 4 years. Lost in thought, she didn't notice her parents entering the hospital room to take her home, accompanied by Detective Takachi. Miss Toga Himiko, I have a couple of questions to ask you, the detective said, startling her from her thoughts. Turning her head toward the door, she replied, Ask away. I have investigated the neglect and bullying Izuku faced. I believe there is grounds to remove his parents' rights over him. I spoke with your parents, and they said they would adopt him if he returns, Tokachi explained. He will return, and yes, I would like that. However, keep in mind we will probably see him at the UA entrance exams, Toga agreed happily. That's all for now. If I get any news about Izuku or a dragon, I will let you know. Chu, someone is talking about me, Izuku said after sneezing. What did you say, son? Zack asked. I think someone is talking about me, Izuku replied. Okay, back to work. 100 slashes with your sword, Zack instructed. Yes, sensei, Izuku responded. After that, go on the 20-kilometer run, Zack added. Yes. Time skipped to 15-year-old Izuku. Aya. Izuku shouted as he felt a burning sensation coursing through his back, legs, and arms. Zack rushed in, determined to get Izuku to the courtyard where it would be safer for him to complete his transformation into his permanent dragonoid form. The elements would gather around him, and he needed to avoid being struck by lightning. Once they reached the courtyard, Izuku pushed Zack away and fell to his knees, clutching his head in his hands as he screamed from the pain. Suddenly, a torrential rain began to pour, accompanied by thunder and lightning. Moments later, a black lightning bolt struck Izuku, engulfing him in a blinding light that revealed his new form. Izuku's scales shimmered in a dark glossy blue, covering his shoulders and extending down his arms to his hands, where retractable claws emerged. His horns were black, adorned with electric blue lightning patterns. His hair was mostly black with dark green highlights, and his eyes shone brightly. Well, son, you have unlocked your true humanesque form. It's time to train you to use those wings and get accustomed to your new abilities, Zack said, walking over to Izuku. Sure thing, Dad, but let's do that tomorrow, Izuku replied, hugging his father before falling unconscious. Toga's perspective, right before the storm. I was in the car with my mom, driving home from the grocery store when, without warning, it started to rain heavily. We received a flood warning, and the entire country was on alert. When we got home, we hurried to unload the car. Just as my mom was about to grab another bag, I felt the hairs on my arms stand up a sign that lightning was about to strike. Stay back. I shouted. The moment I yelled, I felt the lightning bolt hit me, and everything went dark. Third-person perspective. Mrs. Himiko heard her daughters shout and turned just in time to see Toga get struck by lightning. Once the electricity dissipated, Mrs. Himiko rushed to her daughter and saw she was unharmed except for a blue dragon claw mark on her neck. She quickly called for emergency assistance. What is your emergency? Asked the operator. My daughter was just struck by lightning but is unharmed except for a blue claw mark on her neck, Mrs. Himiko said as calmly as she could. If she is not hurt, then I see no problem, the operator stated. She does not have an electric-based quirk and is unconscious, Mrs. Himiko said frantically. Oh, please give your address, the operator replied, confused. Okay, please send an ambulance to address, Mrs. Himiko said. 10 minutes later, after the storm passed, an ambulance arrived to take Mrs. Himiko and Toga to the hospital. Once there, they placed Toga in a hospital room and conducted a full body check, discovering nothing unusual except for the blue dragon claw mark on her neck. The doctors decided to inform her family of their findings once she woke up. An hour later, after Toga's father arrived at the hospital, Toga woke up crying. He's alive, he has such a strong power. I love him, was all Toga could say until Detective Tokachi arrived to ask her what happened. Toga, can you tell me what happened? Tokachi asked. He is alive, was all she responded. Toga, can you tell me what happened during the storm and who is alive? Tokachi pressed. Aizu, Toga replied, and both her parents knew who she meant. It was Izuku. I saw him when I was struck by lightning. He also had the claw mark. What can the mark mean? Toga wondered. Just then, a doctor entered the room, taking in the shocked faces and the crying girl. Mrs. Toga Himiko, from what we can see, that mark on your neck is a mating mark. One other person has that mark, which means whoever caused that storm is your loved one, and you are his. You are free to leave whenever you wish. Goodbye, the doctor said before walking away. Wait, you're saying that Izuku caused that storm to mark you? Tokachi asked, greatly confused. I don't think so. When I saw him through the lightning, he was in pain and transforming into a dragonoid human shape. I believe he caused the storm by accident, Toga said happily, knowing that she and Izuku would definitely be together when he returned. Detective, 2 things. 1, if my daughter is going to marry Izuku, then we can't adopt him, and 2, why are you here? Mr. Himiko asked. Well, sir, I came because the lead witness to an active case was admitted to the hospital, and I have a personal interest in said case. Now that my questions have been answered, I will take my leave. Also, Mr. Himiko, Izuku's family has been trying to get him back, so you cannot adopt him, but you can have guardianship over him. Goodbye, Tokachi said before exiting. Izuku's perspective, Izuku is 16. It has been 1 year since I got my current form and saw Toga through the lightning. I hope she is doing okay, Izuku thought. A couple of days after I transformed, Zack told me that when I got my form, my mate was chosen and that I should work on getting enough control over shadows to maintain a shadow right arm all the time. It took a couple of months, but I succeeded. It looks just like my left arm, but it is entirely black with blue lightning highlights. The most peculiar thing about it was that it felt just like a real dream. Well, time to get to work. Izuku got up and went to finish his training regimen. Tokachi's perspective. It had been 2 years since Izuku disappeared. Green Telek, Izuku Yagi, and All Might had been hounding everyone, police, heroes, UA, and even the Hero Commission to try and find Izuku. Thankfully, I hadn't told them about what Himiko saw, or they would have been all over them. I don't know how, but recently they got satellites to look for him. They are going to drive me insane. Izuku, if you can hear me, please come back. That was what was going through his head as he was bombarded with questions about the investigation. Now that I think about it, if Izuku is alive, he will probably be at the UA entrance exam. I will tell them in around 12 months from now. I just have to endure this until then. Time skip. Izuku is 17. 1 year, 1 month later. It has been 3 years and 1 month, son, and today you are going back to your old hometown. I wish I could give you more, but for what I know and what you have, there is nothing more I can teach you. So instead, I am going to pass on my mantle as the last true dragon, Zacharias said as he lay on his deathbed. No. I do not want your mantle, I just want you to live, Izuku said, tears streaming down his face. I know, but this power I have is the combined strength of all but one of the true dragons. When they died, they entrusted me with their power. Now it is your turn to take it. Start your own clan and protect this power, as you are just as powerful as I was before I inherited the other true dragon powers. To take this power, you must end my life. Oh, one last thing. When I die, cut off my horns and give them to those you hold dear. When they are blown, you will know they need help. Goodbye, I love you, my son. And just like that, as soon as he finished his words, Izuku plunged his hand into his chest, ending his life instantly, and then cut off Zacharias' horns. I better stay up here for another month to get a handle on the amplification the true dragon powers will have on me. I wonder how my old family is doing. Goodbye, old man. Izuku proceeded to incinerate Zacharias' body with his purple flames. With the Yagi family Izuku at the same time. This is the day I tell them about Izuku possibly being in town for UA. I have had enough of them, Tokachi thought while walking up the doorstep to the Yagi house. He then knocked on the door. Coming, Toshinori shouted as he opened the door. Tokachi, what are you doing here? Toshi asked. Let me in and I will tell you and your family, Tokachi said calmly. Okay, come in. Toshi said and then guided Tokachi to the living room. Inko, Izumi, come down here. Coming, Izumi shouted from upstairs. Once they reached the living room, Tokachi saw it was not just the Yagis but also the Bakugo and Todoroki twins. Okay, I am here to let you know that it is highly likely that Izuku could be coming to town in the next 11 months for the UA entrance exams, Tokachi said. What? You're just telling us now? How long has this been a possibility? Inko shouted. It has been a possibility the entire time, but it was guaranteed 3 years ago by a classified source. Oh, and good news for Izuku but bad news for you. When he gets back, he will have the option of signing a piece of paper to transfer his guardianship to another person, Takachi said nervously. What? Izumi shouted. You will take back that offer from him. He needs his parents and me, his sister. Says the people who beat him up and neglected him for 10 years. All he has to do is testify against you, and some, if not all, of you could be put in jail. So no, the option stays, Takachi stated as he got up and walked out. Do not worry, Izumi. We can and will win him back, and when we do, one of you, Toshinori said, pointing at Katsumi and Shoka, if not both of you, will be his wife. I know you both have crushes on him. Yes, all three girls said, while Katsuki and Shoto thought, you better marry my sister, you useless person. Feel blessed to be with my sister. Time skip 1 month to when Izuku arrived in town, 10 months before the entrance exam. Well, I am finally back in Mizudafu. After 3 years, it still looks the same. Or not, Izuku thought while walking around until he came across Toga Municipal Beach Park. Well, it looks like I found out what to do for the next 10 months, on top of getting a job. Looking at the beach, he noticed it was covered in trash. Chapter end. Third POV. Next day. Izuku got up at 7 a.m. to get ready for his exercise. 1,000 sit-ups, push-ups, and pull-ups, along with a 20-kilometer run. That took him until 9 a.m. to complete. Then he went to the beach to start cleaning it. However, someone outside of his detection range was watching him. All might. Izuku continued cleaning the beach for 2 weeks, and by then he had cleaned a quarter of it. He stopped halfway through the day because an unexpected visitor decided to say hello. Izuku's perspective. Young man. This caught Izuku's attention, and when he turned, he wished he hadn't because there stood All Might. Young man, you have done quite a good job. I have been watching you these past 2 weeks and... You have been watching me for 2 weeks? What kind of creep are you? Now let me get back to work, Izuku said, turning around. But he felt a hand on his shoulder that forcibly turned him to face All Might. Good thing I turned on my camera in my pocket and sensed him coming, Izuku thought. Okay, what do you want? Izuku asked, a hint of irritation in his voice. Well, it seems you have quite a strong quirk, but you should remove the arm sleeve and glove before I tell you, All Might replied assertively. No. My one-word response seemed to set him off. He grabbed my right arm and tore off the sleeve and glove. In response, I did the only reasonable thing and punched him in the chest, sending him flying into a pile of trash. All Might looked up at me, then at my arm, which was now made of shadows. He finally noticed the scales in my eyes, my horns, and my bared teeth. Izuku's wings can retract into his back. Who are you? The only other person with a dragon quirk I knew of was my son, and he's not as mean as you, All Might said. Well then, I will be leaving, but you better finish cleaning this beach. Just as I was about to fly away after unfolding my wings, I was punched and sent crashing into a trash pile. All Might, why did you just punch me? Do it again and you'll regret it. I shouted in a deep voice, almost roaring, but I was sure he recognized me as Izuku. How do you know about that? He asked, concern etched on his face. Oh, I know a lot even about your son, Izuku replied. I'll give him a hint, and then at the UA entrance exam, I'll reveal it. The news about the dragon being my son was never made public. How do you know about it? All Might asked, sounding a bit sad. You should keep your mouth shut, old man. I've been recording this whole thing, and there are pedestrians walking by, I said, pointing at the crowd. He looked shocked and turned his head, noticing dozens of phones recording the scene. I took this chance to fly away, but he called out one last thing. I'm putting you under arrest for illegal quirk usage, All Might declared. Do you think this is a quirk? It started as one, but would you rather me be one-armed? Izuku replied. I questioned him again, calling him old man, and he still didn't realize. I'm leaving now and pay better attention, I said, gesturing to my hair, which was still mostly green, just like before I left. I wonder if Toga will watch this. As Izuku flew away, little did he know Toga was in the crowd, watching him leave. When he returned to his apartment, he was frustrated, so he decided to go through his morning routine again to calm down. Afterward, he sat at his computer and saw all the comments on the video. Most of them agreed that the unknown figure was right and that he should be able to use his quirk to create an arm. They also noted that All Might hadn't told them the whole truth about the fight 3 years ago. Those comments pleased him, and he began watching the videos. In one of them, he spotted Toga Himiko, his future partner. With some extra free time, he got a job at a cafe to save up for books and food. Back to All Might after Izuku left. How did that young man know all that? And he kept calling me old man, I'm only 40. All Might looked at the crowd, which was dispersing in every direction to post videos and pictures of him, but one person walked slower than the rest. He ignored her and jumped home. To Takachi after many videos had been posted. Takachi was trying to stifle his laughter at how the unknown person had outsmarted All Might in various ways, even though he knew exactly who it was and why. It was concerning that the Dragonoid revealed that the dragon All Might fought against 4 years ago was bad. Takachi figured that Izuku knew what he was doing. Just then he received a call from Nizu, the principal of UA. What can I do for you, Nizu sir? Takachi asked. I assume you've seen the videos of All Might against the unknown person? Nizu inquired. Sir, I have. What do you want me to do? Takachi replied. I want you to find the unknown person and identify him, Nizu said. Finding him is the hard part, but I think I know who he is, Takachi stated. What do you mean? Who is he? Nizu asked, confused. Well, sir, I believe his old name was Izuku Yagi, All Might's son. I only think it's him because his girlfriend more like betrothed was struck by lightning in that freak storm that hit all of Japan. She received a vision of him at that time, which is when he adopted this form, Takachi explained. Isn't that interesting? Could you arrange for us to see both of them on the day of the exam to ask questions? Nizu requested. That should be easy to arrange, sir. If it is Izuku Yagi, they will both attend the entrance exam, Takachi confirmed. Is there anything else you need, sir? Yes, could you send me the Izuku case for my own research? And would you be so kind as to come to the entrance exam? Nizu asked, knowing he would agree. Yes, sir. Just don't blame me for what you find, Takachi said before hanging up and sending Nizu the files. 1235 words. Chapter End. Today is the day my time at UA begins. As long as I get in, Izuku thought while packing his bag, making sure he had everything. Pens. Check. Uniform. Check. Thankfully they put holes in it for my wings. Anything else I need? Yes, one of my sets of workout clothes. That should be it. Let's go. Izuku took the train to UA because he didn't want to be harassed by heroes. While walking, he overheard a familiar group chatting his old friends and sister. Once inside, he took his assigned seat, and ectoplasm appeared. All right, everyone, you have an hour and a half to complete the questions. Once you're done, or if you have a question, come see me, ectoplasm announced, and his clones began distributing the test sheets. Many struggled with the 30 questions, but for Izuku, they were straightforward. He finished all the questions in 35 minutes and walked down to ectoplasm. Do you have a question? Ectoplasm asked. No, I'm just here to turn in my test and get directions to the next room, Izuku replied casually. Are you sure? Ectoplasm inquired, glancing at the test and noticing all the answers were correct, along with a few spelling mistakes. Yeah, pretty sure, Izuku confirmed. Okay, follow this clone, Ectoplasm said, still surprised. Izuku nodded and followed the clone. Upon reaching the next room, he received a pamphlet and was pointed to his seat. He read the pamphlet while waiting. After an hour, everything was set up, and Present Mike began his presentation. There are 3 types of robots that give points: the 1-pointer, the 2-pointer, and the 3-pointer. The mic was suddenly interrupted by a loud noise. Sir, the pamphlet states there are 4 robots, one student said, pointing at Izuku. Stop being so laid back. If you're not going to take this seriously, then leave. Oh, come on. If you read the pamphlet, you'd know what the last robot is. You just interrupted Mike while he was explaining, Izuku replied, slightly annoyed. After Izuku finished, Ida sat down, looking embarrassed, and Mike continued. Thanks, examinee now, The last robot is worth 0 points and serves as a significant obstacle. Now, head off to your city. With that, Mike stepped aside, and everyone prepared. Izuku changed into his workout clothes. When Izuku got off the bus, he joined the others. As the door opened, he dashed into the city. "Hey, they didn't say go yet. You're going to get disqualified," someone shouted. "What are you waiting for? There's no countdown in a real fight," Mike yelled. Immediately, everyone surged forward, but upon entering, they saw only destroyed robots. "This is easier than I thought. I wonder if there will be any that actually challenge me," Izuku thought as he hit the 120-point mark. After 5 minutes, he had accumulated 179 villain points and decided to wait on a rooftop. Watching room. Well, this is an interesting batch this year, wouldn't you say?" Aizawa remarked. "Indeed. Some use speed," Nizu noted, showing Ida. "Some use strength," he continued, showing Katsuki. "And some use intelligence gathering," he added, showing Jiro. "But the best use all 3. Nizu, who has the most points right now?" All Might asked. It seems that Izukudarago has the highest with 179 points. Nizu replied, a hint of suspicion in his voice. "What? Show him on the monitor," All Might demanded. The monitor switched to Izuku standing on a rooftop. He turned his head to the camera and mouthed the words, "Hello there, father." Only Nizu and Aizawa noticed and understood his lips. "I want him in my class," Aizawa said, shocking everyone further. "Well, let's see how he handles this," Nizu said, grinning. Back to Izuku. "Well, I think that thoroughly freaked them out." Izuku then felt the ground shake and saw people running from the 0-pointer. He heard someone scream and turned to see Izumi trying to help a brown-haired girl trapped under some rubble. "Though I don't particularly like her, it would be fun to intervene, and I might as well save the other girl," Izuku thought as he jumped from the rooftop. He landed and rushed to Izumi and the girl. He lifted the rubble and urged them to run while he confronted the robot. Izuku positioned himself in front of the 0-pointer, then jumped, wrapping his right arm in shadow sand and punching the robot squarely in the face, destroying it. When he landed, he asked, "Are you too hurt?" "I think I sprained my ankle," the unknown girl said. "I'm fine, and thank you for your help," Izumi replied. "Okay, get her to recovery, girl," Izuku instructed before walking away. "Can Izukudarago and Toga Himiko please come to the head office?" Mike announced. "Oh great, is this because of the videos? At least I get to see Toga," Izuku thought as he made his way to the head office. Upon arrival, he heard voices inside, including 2 he disliked the most, All Might and Green Telekinesis. He opened the door and froze for a moment, his eyes locked on Toga. Inside the room. When they heard the door open, they saw Izuku standing there, seemingly frozen, his gaze fixed on Toga. They noticed that the arm he used to open the door was black with blue lightning marks. Time resumed, and Toga ran and jumped into his arms, which he managed to support. "I've missed so much over the past years," Izuku said, holding her close, but All Might interrupted the moment. "Young Himiko, step away from that man. He is very dangerous," All Might warned. "You know, I always wondered what kind of person neglects their son, but in the past 10 months, you've called your son a villain. Stop calling my Aizu that unless you want him to do what he did to you at the beach," Toga retorted, still with an arm around Izuku. "What do you mean, my son? That monster is not my son. My son was kind and nice. That thing in front of me is not my son." All Might then charged at Izuku, who quickly unhooked his arm from around Toga and punched All Might in the chest with about 8% of his strength. Even that small amount sent All Might flying out the window and into one of the nearby battle cities. "Wow, I thought he was stronger than that. I mean, my old man is weak, but he couldn't even see that coming," Izuku said, trying to stifle a laugh. "So I take it you are or were Izuku Yagi?" Nizu asked. "Do not call me Yagi," Izuku shouted before calming down. "Yes, that was me, but I now go by Izukudarago. My baby boy, please come home with me and your father. We have already found you a perfect wife," Inko said. Before Izuku could respond, Tokachi interjected, "I'm afraid that's impossible because he already has a mate." Isn't that right, Mrs. Himiko? His words shocked the room. Himiko giggled and nodded. Yes, I am his mate, the only one who can be with him, Toga said. Well then, just another villain, Inko said, starting to use her powers against Toga. But before she could finish, she was punched in the head and sent crashing through several walls, coming to a stop unconscious. Ah, that felt really nice. Now, are you okay, Toga? Izuku asked. Yeah, I'm fine, Toga replied, and Izuku wrapped his arm around her again. Now then, what do you want? Izuku asked the principal, who was grinning while everyone else remained on guard. Well, I wanted to know who you are, but that has been answered. Next question, what is your quirk? I can see it has to do with your arm and strength, and the wings during the exam, but we only saw the dragon for a moment, Nizu asked. Well, when my adoptive father performed a blood ritual to change my blood to his, my body started changing. It wasn't until a year later that it fully manifested, Izuku explained. So, are you the one who caused the nationwide storm on a perfectly clear day? Nizu asked. Kinda. It wasn't on purpose, I just lost control of my powers, Izuku said, shocking everyone again. Well then, what is your quirk? Nizu asked again. Well, it's not really a quirk, but you can call it that. It's called True Dragon. Basically, I can turn into any dragon as long as I've spent a lot of time near its type of power, like water, Izuku explained, unfazed by their reactions. Well then, what types of dragon forms do you currently have? Nizu asked. That would be Shadow and Lightning, Izuku replied. I want these two in my class, him because he has seen the world, and her because she is probably the only one who can calm him down, Aizawa said. I will agree to that. Also, can two of you get all might and green telek to Recovery Girl? Oh, you two are dismissed, Nizu said. With that, Izuku and Toga left the room. So, what do you think of his power? Nizu asked Tokachi. I believe it's a good thing he wants to become a hero, but if his old family tries to do anything to him or especially Toga, he will take them down, Tokachi said. Yes, I will have to agree. For now, we should try to keep his old family in check, Nizu replied. His old family? Why not them? Mike asked. We have leeway with the Yagis, but for those two, we have none. If he wanted to, he probably could have taken down all Might and Green Telek, Nizu responded, ending the meeting. Well, that meeting was uneventful, Izuku said to Toga. Why didn't you try to find me after you returned? Toga asked. Well, Izuku started, but Toga cut him off. Don't know why. Toga asked. Well, I knew I was going to see you here, so why find you when I could let you come to me? Izuku said nervously. Okay, fine, but what do you want to do now? Izuku-an? Toga asked. We should probably head to your house so I can meet your parents. Toga-chan, Izuku suggested. Oh yeah, I know it's not really needed now, but I love you, Aizu, Toga said, shocking Izuku a little. I love you too, Toga, Izuku replied, leaning in for a kiss, which Toga happily accepted. They walked out of UA holding hands, sparks of electricity dancing around their fingers. As they approached Toga's house, Izuku asked, So, is there anything I should know? No, I don't think so, Toga replied. She opened the door and shouted, I'm home and brought someone back. Toga, you shouldn't just bring strangers to the house, Mr. Himiko began, but upon seeing Izuku he stopped. So you're the boy who captured my little girl's heart. Deawad, Toga said, exasperated. I am, sir, and I must be the luckiest guy in the world to have her, Izuku said. Don't lie, Mr. Himiko started, but was interrupted by Mrs. Himiko. Well now, aren't you a smooth talker? Mrs. Himiko said. Only when it counts, Izuku retorted. Well then, why don't you stay the night so we can get to know each other better? Mrs. Himiko suggested. Honey bee, Mr. Himiko began, but he was cut off by a death glare from both Toga and Mrs. Himiko. Okay, fine, but he will sleep on the couch and that is final. Now then, let's go to the living room to talk, then we will have dinner, Mrs. Himiko said as they moved to the living room. What are your intentions with my daughter? Mr. Himiko asked. With your approval, I intend to marry her and have a family with her, Izuku replied. Why did you choose Toga as your mate? Mr. Himiko asked. To be honest, sir, I didn't intentionally choose her. I mean, I've loved her for years now, but when I transformed, it was chosen for me. When a mate is chosen, it's between the people who are most compatible, though it's usually between people of the same race, so I don't exactly know what will happen, Izuku explained. Okay, but what do you mean by same race? Are you not human? Mrs. Himiko asked. Yes, when my adoptive father, who was a dragon, found me, he proposed a ritual to make me his blood son, completely separating me from my old family. So between that and my quirk bloodline, I am not entirely human, Izuku stated. Okay, so what is a bloodline, and what might happen to my daughter? Mr. Himiko asked. Himiko asked, what exactly is a bloodline? Izuku replied, a bloodline is a trait passed down through generations, essentially a power that cannot be stolen or turned off. Additionally, the person may still have a quirk that is also unstealable. From what my father told me, a dragon's mate adapts to each other's elements. Since she is human, this could lead to physical changes like wings, horns, or even scales. As for the powers she would be immune to, it would include all of my current elements and any I unlock in the future. She might even be able to use some of them. How did she get the mate mark? She got the mate mark when she was struck by lightning. Why do you ask? Mrs. Himiko responded. Well, in that case, she is or will be immune to electricity and may be able to control it to some extent, Izuku explained. Then what do you want for dinner? Mrs. Himiko asked. After dinner, they went to sleep. The next day, Thursday, they were all in the kitchen when the mail arrived. I'll go get it, Mrs. Himiko said as she got up to retrieve the mail. It's here, Toga. The letter from UA, she announced as she walked into the dining room. Toga immediately snatched it from her hand, grabbed a knife, sat down, and opened the letter, causing a disc to fall out. Hello, young Himiko, UH. The video abruptly cut off as a knife and a small bolt of lightning struck it, destroying the device. Just read the letter, Izuku urged. Toga nodded and began to read. Well, I got in. Class 1 but at the bottom, there's a PS that says, Izuku, congratulations on getting into UA. You're also in Class 1A. Now you may be wondering how I know you're with Toga, but a good mastermind never reveals his secrets. Love, your bear dog mouse Nizu. That's an odd message, Toga remarked. I'll uncover that principal's secret. So when do we have to be there? Izuku asked. Monday, Toga replied. Okay, I'm going to head out and get my mail now. Love you, and see you Monday, Toga, Izuku said as he walked out the door. Izuku's point of view. Let's see, food money. Check phone. Check notebooks. Check, pencils. Check, and uniform. Time is 6:35 a.m. Well, let's go pick up Toga and get to school. After picking up Toga, they walked toward their classroom door when they heard shouting from none other than Katsuki and Katsumi Bakugo. Well, this is going to be fun, Izuku said. Try not to get into trouble, Toga said, slightly concerned. No promises, Izuku replied as he opened the door. Stop putting your feet on the desk, it's disrespectful to our seniors, Sonic said. What school are you from? Katsuki asked. Sumiya Private Academy, Sonic answered. Katsuki began, but was interrupted. Can you be quiet? Izuku said. Ida then approached Izuku. Sorry for being rude at the entrance exam. Let's start over, shall we? I am Ida Tenya. Hello, Tenya. I am Izuku Durago, Izuku said, shaking Ida's hand. When he introduced himself, his past classmates looked at him. Brother, Izumi said. Do not call me brother, Yagi. Izuku replied, his voice steady. Honey, don't talk to your sister like that. Both Katsumi and Shoka chimed in. What did you call me? Izuku questioned. We called you honey. What's wrong with that, honey? Shoka asked. Why did you call me that? Izuku asked, feeling a surge of frustration. Well, that's because one of us is going to marry you, Katsumi said. What was that? My ex-father is going to regret this, Izuku said, his temper rising. What do you mean, ex-father? Izumi asked. You don't need to know. Just leave me alone unless you want to find out what it's like to fall into a volcano, Izuku warned. Shut up, you useless piece of… Before Katsuki could finish, Izuku punched him in the chest, taking the wind out of him. Izuku and Toga then took their seats. Just then, Aizawa made his appearance. Be quiet. Put these on and meet me in the field in 10 minutes, Aizawa instructed, handing them their gym clothes before leaving. Izuku and Toga quickly changed, as Izuku wanted to avoid drawing attention to his arm. Let's change fast, I don't want them to see my arm, Izuku said. Okay, Toga agreed. After they finished changing before anyone else arrived, Izuku teleported them outside the changing rooms, surprising Aizawa. How did you two get here? Aizawa asked. I teleported us here, Izuku replied. Okay, then time to wait, Aizawa said. Once everyone else arrived, he continued, you are all late except Durigo and Himiko. Now we will be doing a quirk test. Katsuki, come here and throw this ball using your quirk. What was your record in high school? My record was 73 meters, Katsuki said before throwing the ball. 756 meters, Aizawa announced, shocking most of the class. We get to use our quirks? This is going to be fun, Mina said. If you think this is fun, the person in last place is expelled, Aizawa said with a grin. What? How is that fair? Mina protested. If you think that's unfair, consider how quirkless people are treated, or natural disasters and villain attacks. Heroes constantly face unfairness in the world. If you're here to have fun, then leave, Izuku interjected before Aizawa could respond. Okay, the tests will include long jump, push-ups, grip strength, repeated side steps, stamina, 50-meter sprint, and ball throw, Aizawa explained. When it was Izuku's turn for the long jump, he opened his wings, which had been retracted into his body, shocking everyone. With his wings, he secured first place. For push-ups, Izuku was told to stop after 30 minutes, having completed 455 push-ups. He broke the grip strength tester. In the repeated side steps, he achieved 50 in a minute. For stamina, they went to a track field. Izuku finished first despite Momo making a bike and was told to stop after an hour. In the 50-meter sprint, he faced off against Ida. As soon as the gun went off, he shadow-stepped, finishing in 0.01 seconds and shocking everyone. Finally, it was time for the ball throw. Okay, next up is Durigo, Aizawa announced. Izuku stood up, preparing to throw the ball, but he sensed Aizawa activate his quirk. He looked over and asked, Why did you activate your quirk, sensei? Aizawa replied, In our medical reports, it states that you only have one arm. If you could kindly show me how you manage, I suspect it has something to do with the sleeve and glove on your right arm. His question drew confused looks from the other students. All right then, Izuku said. He lifted his right arm, deactivating his power, allowing the sleeve and glove to fall away. He then cut off the rest of the short sleeve down to his shoulder, revealing that he had no right arm. You see, I don't have a right arm. As for why your quirk doesn't affect my powers, we can discuss that privately. Can you tell me how you lost your arm and turn it back on? Aizawa asked. Sure, Izuku replied, letting his arm return, revealing it to be black with blue lightning patterns running across it. He continued, Do you know how and under what conditions I awaken my quirk? Not the full details, Aizawa stated. It was a day filled with hatred, I suppose that's the right word. What truly awakened my quirk was my desperation to save Toga from a villain. When I transformed, I lost control and didn't remember it until afterward. All Might showed up, saved Toga, but saw me as a threat because I was lashing out at the nearby heroes. He engaged me in a fight, which ended with him using his most powerful attack and me using my strongest attack, resulting in my right arm being blown off. The ironic part is he didn't realize I was his own son, but that's a different story. Exhausted, he couldn't pursue me when I flew away. That's the end of it. Izuku finished, noting the shocked expressions around him. He heard some quiet sobs nearby, likely from his former parents watching, and felt Toga wrap him in a comforting hug. Alright, we'll have that talk later. Now, throw the ball with everything you've got because I know you were holding back earlier, Aizawa said, recovering quickly alongside Toga. Don't blame me for the damages, Izuku warned. He picked up the ball and threw it with 15% of his power, creating a gust of wind that knocked everyone down except Toga, who used his shadows to shield her. Are you happy now? Aizawa nodded and proceeded to show the results. 1. Izuku. 2. Izumi. 3. Sugi. 22. Ojiro. Also, about the expulsion, just kidding, Aizawa said, prompting a collective sigh of relief from the class. That will be it for today. You can either leave or head back to class to talk and get to know each other. With that, Aizawa left to report to Nizu. Everyone except Izuku and Toga returned to class, much to the discontent of the others. It was the second day of class, and everyone was chatting in groups except for Izuku and Toga, who sat in the back left corner of the room by the windows. So, Aizu, what was your adoptive father like? Toga asked. Well, Zaccaria was strict, wanting me to train and become the best hero I could be, but he was also very caring. Even though he knew I would eventually take his place as the true dragon, he encouraged me and didn't try to keep the power to himself. He helped me through the aftermath of the bullying and being away from you, Izuku said, a hint of sadness in his voice. Just then, their moment was interrupted by Izumi, Shoko, Katsumi, Shoto, and Katsuki approaching them. So, brother, when are you going to come home? Izumi asked sweetly. I have my own home, so please don't bother me, Izuku replied, not looking at them. Listen to your sister, you liar and fake. Katsumi and Katsuki shouted in unison. No. All my sisters died a long time ago, Izuku said, finally looking at them. But I'm right here, alive and well, so come home, Izumi insisted. I said a no. Leave it at that, Izuku replied, turning away from them. Oh, I bet it's your girlfriend you're dating. She's nothing compared to my sister, so why don't we get rid of her? Shoto said, stepping closer to Toga. But before he could get any closer, he was sent flying across the room, while Katsuki found himself lifted off the ground with a hand around his throat. What did you say? Izuku asked in a low, intense voice. If you lay a finger on her or her family, you will disappear permanently. Is that clear? Why yes, it is, Katsuki managed to cough out. Okay, that's enough, Izuku. Put him down, we kind of need him for the next part, Shoto said as he walked in. With that, Katsuki was dropped. Now then, get to your seats, you have hero training. I'm coming through the door like a normal person, All Might said, opening the door with a loud bang. The entire class cheered at his entrance, except for Izuku and Toga. All Might was somewhat taken aback when he noticed two students not cheering and saw Shoto slumped against the wall, unconscious. Honey, that's not how people open doors, Green Telek said, entering after All Might. Why can't I have a better life? Izuku muttered quietly before letting his head hit his desk with a loud thud. Although he said it softly, the entire class heard him. Oh, come on, it's not that bad, Toga said, trying to console him. Today, we're going to do battle training, but for that, you need to look the part, All Might announced, pressing a button on the wall that released suitcases. Put on your costumes and meet us at Battleground Beta. Oh, and Durago, stay for a moment. With that, everyone grabbed their cases except Izuku. He asked while Toga was collecting hers, so, what do you want? Well, son, your mother made you your hero costume, All Might said, gulping nervously at the glare Izuku shot him. I don't want it. Do not call me son again or there will be a bonfire. Izuku exclaimed, grabbing Toga and teleporting to the front of the changing rooms just as everyone else came into view. Oh great, now we don't get to change in private. Then again, I might be able to create a wall or room of shadows, Izuku said. Oh come on, it's not that bad. You don't have to deal with 3 of them, and all the other boys seem nice, Toga replied. Izuku sighed and decided to go along with it. How did you get here? Didn't All Might ask you to stay behind? Kirishima inquired. Now that I think about it, you two disappeared yesterday but were on the field before us. How do you do it? I can teleport, Izuku said as he walked into the changing room, followed by the other boys. So, what's your name again? Oh, I'm Eijiro Kirishima, he introduced himself. My name is Izuku. Izuku paused, glancing at Shoto and Katsuki. Izukadurago, he finished, taking off his shirt. Gasps filled the room as they noticed the scars that adorned his skin. How did you get so many scars? Kirishima asked, concern evident in his voice. Ask those two, Izuku said, pointing over his shoulder at Shoto and Katsuki. What do they have to do with your scars? Kirishima pressed. When I was 4, I was misdiagnosed as quirkless, and you should know how quirkless people are treated in this world, Izuku explained as he put on the last part of his costume. Kirishima shot a glare at the two, deciding against talking to them further. Once dressed, he teleported to ground beta. A short time later, Toga was in her villain costume, Izuku wore his first costume from the show, and Shoko and Katsumi had female versions of their brothers' costumes, while the rest remained the same. Okay, now that just about everyone is here, has anyone seen Durago? All Might asked. Just then, a voice echoed from a rooftop overlooking them. Ha, you really can't sense me, Mr. Number 1, Izuku called out as he stepped off the edge, dropping swiftly. Just before he hit the ground, his wings unfurled from his back, halting his fall. He landed gracefully, and the crowd gasped in awe at his wings, which were midnight black with electric blue lightning patterns. He wore a black sleeveless shirt with purple lining and blue lightning designs, along with dark blue pants and black combat boots. His legs were equipped with holsters for smoke grenades, tracking devices, and knives, while his arms were covered in scales with claw-like nails. Now that you're here, I'll explain the event. There will be 8 teams of 2, along with 2 teams of 3, competing against each other. We'll decide the teams by drawing lots, All Might announced as everyone came up to get their team. The results were Izuku, Toga, Ojiro, Team A, versus Izumi, Katsuki, Shoto, Team G. Shoko, Katsumi versus a Cannon team. The rest were the same. All right, everyone to the observation room except Teams A and G. Oh, and Team G will be the hero team, All Might instructed as he walked away with the rest of the class. Team A then entered the building to hide the bomb and devise a plan. So, how are we going to do this? Ojiro asked. You and Toga guard the room where the bomb is by trapping all the entrances, while I take on Shoto, Katsuki, and Izumi if she comes my way. But I'm guessing she'll enter from the roof, so Toga can handle her, Izuku explained as he walked out of the room. Is he going to be okay? Ojiro asked Toga. Oh, he will be. I'm more concerned for the other two. Even though I dislike them, I wouldn't want them to get hurt, Toga replied. Outside, Izumi directed, Okay, Shoto, try to freeze the first floor while I go in through the roof. After you freeze it, you and Katsuki will search for the bomb on the first 3 floors. Understood? Yep, they both replied. Hero team, go in now, All Might commanded. Show the useless brat his place, Izumi, he thought. With that, Izumi floated up to the roof, and Shoto froze the first floor before entering with Katsuki. When they reached the second floor, they found Izuku waiting. Took you long enough, Izuku remarked. Oh, you're so dead. How about this? If we win, you marry our sisters, Katsuki challenged. And if I win? Izuku countered. You won't have to marry them, Shoto said smugly. This is going to be so easy, Izuku replied. With that, they charged at each other, but Katsuki found himself held in place by shadows. Shoto, unaware, was met with a scaled hand, and Izuku followed up with a swift blow that knocked the wind out of him, finishing with a roundhouse kick that sent him to the ground. Haha, it's your turn now, Katsuki, Izuku said with a grin that sent chills through everyone. He released Katsuki, who immediately unleashed explosions at Izuku, who walked through them unfazed. Do you know this isn't a good matchup? Izuku said, closing the distance. What? How? Katsuki exclaimed, panic rising in his voice. Simple, you're using fire against a dragon. Izuku reached out through the smoke, grabbing Katsuki by the throat and lifting him effortlessly. Now, I may not have direct fire powers, but my scales are flameproof. You see, when dragons ruled the world, shadow dragons were the front line in battles due to their overwhelming power, especially at night or on overcast days. I am the last true dragon, possibly the last dragon and the rightful heir, if not king of all dragons, Izuku declared, revealing his scaled face. His right eye was a black line with a purple center, while his left was a blue line. A black crown adorned his horns, embellished with purple and blue diamonds. When he spoke, his razor-sharp teeth were visible. "Take this," Katsuki shouted, pulling the pin from a grenade, unleashing a massive explosion that knocked Izuku back. As the smoke cleared, Katsuki coughed on the ground while Izuku stood, wrapped in shadows at the end of the hall. "What was that? Are you trying to imitate a dragon? If you wanted to see true fire, you could have just asked me," Izuku taunted as he began to build up purple flames in his mouth. "Stop. That could kill him," All Might shouted over the PA system. Katsuki then fell unconscious, and Izuku halted his attack, the hallway around him slightly distorted. At that moment, Toga appeared with Ojiro, who was carrying Izumi. Izumi floated up to the ceiling. Once she landed, she discovered a staircase leading down to the 5th floor. She looked around but found nothing, so she proceeded down to the 4th floor. As she turned a corner, she noticed a commotion in a room at the end of the hall and rushed toward it. However, she didn't see the tripwire. She accidentally triggered it, and 9 knives shot toward her. She managed to dodge or block 6 of them, but 3 still struck her, 2 in her right thigh and shin, and 1 in her left forearm. When she looked up, Ojiro's tail swung toward her, hitting her square in the face and sending her tumbling back down the hall. Toga then dashed out from a side room, slashing at her with a knife and grazing her left bicep. "So you really do fight like a villain. It's not just your quirk, I bet you're a spy," Izumi taunted Toga. "What did you say?" Toga exclaimed, on the brink of losing control of her quirk. "I said you're a husband stealer, villain, and a cheater," Izumi replied. That's when it happened. Toga appeared in front of Izumi and punched her in the face with an electrified fist, knocking her out. They then went to find Izuku, with Ojiro carrying Izumi, though he was still irritated by her earlier comments. When they found Izuku, Toga rushed to hug him, which he accepted. All Might, however, had to interrupt. Hero team wins. Villain team loses for being too violent, All Might declared proudly, thinking, that will teach them for upstaging my daughter. Just then, Izuku teleported in with Toga and Ojiro. "What was that, you old buffoon? Are you blind?" Izuku said, his tone eerily calm. "He's right, All Might," Nizu said as he walked in with Aizawa. "Sir, you can't expect me to allow a villain and someone with a villainous quirk to pass, can you?" All Might protested, digging himself deeper. "I expect you to show no bias, especially toward your own daughter. What will you do?" Nizu replied. "Well, if I may suggest an idea, let the whole school watch a fight between me and him. No holding back," Izuku said, grinning mischievously. "I do like that idea, Drago. We can do it after the rest of the training, with Aizawa as the proctor," Nizu said, wearing a sadistic grin. All Might was taken aback by the suggestion. "But sir, he's just a kid. I could seriously hurt him." "How much power you use is up to you," Nizu replied. "What are you afraid of, old man? Are you going to lose?" Izuku taunted. "Do not call me that," All Might said, visibly irritated. "Why do you show favoritism to my ex-sister but not to me, your ex-son?" Izuku challenged, drawing shocked expressions from his classmates. "Why do you refer to me and your family as ex?" All Might asked, confused. "Blood rituals are quite nice, and given how you treated me, why would I want the title of Dragon King to go to your family?" Izuku said. "Nizu, get all the students in the stadium in 2 hours. That should be enough time for you to finish up here and gather everyone." With that, Izuku teleported away with Toga. "This will be entertaining. Aizawa, take care of this. I will alert the school and press to make it newsworthy," Nizu said as he turned to leave. "Sir, is it a good idea to make this public?" Aizawa asked. "Oh, it is, because it showcases his strength, which surpasses any pro hero, and gives me a chance to reveal his heritage, both his old one and new one. He is literally royalty of a different race," Nizu said, walking away with a grin. "Izuku, are you okay?" Toga asked. "No," Toga replied. "Is it because of my fight against your ex-father?" Izuku inquired. Yes, but that's not all of it, Toga admitted. Then what is it? Izuku asked, concern etched on his face. In my fight against Izumi, she called me a villain, and I lost control a bit. When I punched her, my fist was electrified. Since then, the back of my neck and the front of my head have been hurting, Toga confessed, fear evident in her voice. Let me see. Toga turned around, and Izuku began examining her head. He was pleased with what he found. Well, it seems you have some scales growing from the mate mark and the beginnings of horns on your head, Izuku said, his voice filled with excitement. So, does that mean I will start to gain control over your powers? Toga asked. Yes, it does, and from the scales, you might also experience some physical changes, like wings. My queen, Izuku said, causing Toga to blush. As the time approached for the fight, Mike shouted over the PA system, "Welcome students. It's only the second day, and a student has challenged All Might to a fight for being unfair in class and showing favoritism. So we now have them facing off, with the permission of a..." "Wow, that kid is going to get killed," one student remarked. "This is a waste of time," another added. "Let us now welcome Izuku, the challenger, to the stage," Mike announced as Izuku stepped onto the battleground. "Now can we have All Might come down?" All Might jumped down from the roof onto the battleground, and out came Midnight. "I will be the referee for this match. The challenge states no holding back. The only rule is no killing, or I will stop the match. Understood?" Midnight stated. "Yep." "Yes." "Well then begin." Midnight signaled, and suddenly, it started to rain, with thunder rumbling in the distance. Well, I've been waiting so long to unleash this pent-up anger on someone. Who knew it would be you? Izuku said, stalling for time. "Look, son, just give up. There's no way you will win," All Might warned. As soon as he finished speaking, a purple flame shot toward All Might. He dodged it, but the concrete where he had been standing melted into a puddle. Izuku then transformed into a form no one had seen before, lightning arcing around him. This new form took up a significant amount of space in the arena, shocking the crowd. Just when they thought it was over, dragon forms appeared in the clouds. As they descended, the crowd gasped, realizing they were made of lightning. "You called for us, king?" One of them spoke, startling the onlookers. The voice was female. "Yes, sister. I have summoned you, the sprites of the Dead Lightning clan, to assist me in a rather unfortunate conflict with my ex-father. You may return to your rest until I need you again, but you know my story," Dragon Izuku said, his voice deep and regal. "Of course, brother. I despise what he did to you," she replied. "Thank you, Astra," Izuku said. The dragons then turned their attention to All Might, who stood frozen in awe, looking like a mere pebble. Before he could react, the dragons soared into the sky, leaving Izuku behind. A massive bolt of pure white lightning struck All Might, sending him crashing through the walls of the stadium, which crumbled around him. "Pathetic. I thought he was stronger. I wasted that attack," Izuku remarked as he transformed back into his human form. The crowd was stunned, even Nizu, at the power Izuku had just displayed and his words. "Before you leave, Durgo, I have an announcement to make about you," Nizu said. "What is it?" Izuku asked, irritation creeping into his voice. "Well, you see, I know about the dragon clans." "I know who you are," Nizu said, grinning widely. "Oh, and what am I?" Izuku challenged. "You are the last true dragon. You will have the ability to control shadows, electricity, water, earth, fire, and light. As one of the last dragons and of royal blood, you are the Dragon King. You represent a unique lineage," Nizu explained. The crowd was not only shocked, but the news was being broadcast nationwide, leaving everyone astonished. "Huh," was all Izuku could say before shadow stepping to Toga, leaving the crowd bewildered. "So I really am a queen?" Toga asked, her eyes. "Yes and no," Izuku replied. "What do you mean?" Toga pouted. "Because you are my betrothed, we are not married yet," Izuku said, causing Toga to blush profusely. With that, the school day ended for the students, while the staff was bombarded by reporters. In an unknown location, So you finally reveal yourself, a man with a full face mask said. This will be fun. I can't wait to fight you. Haha. 1 hour after the fight with Nizu. Sir, what are we going to do? Vlad asked. Well, this is just getting more interesting, Nizu replied, ignoring the question. Nizu, what are you planning? Aizawa inquired. Call Izuku and Toga in. This plan will affect the whole school, but it is because of them, Nizu said, leaving them confused. They called for the pair, and a few minutes later, Izuku and Toga stepped out of a shadow, startling some of the teachers. What do you want, Nizu? Why are we needed here? Izuku asked. Well, I'm considering 2 things. First, what will you do about the press issue? Nizu began. I was thinking of going back to my home in the mountains and using lightning travel to avoid being found, Izuku suggested. That sounds fine, but people will panic if you disappear. Also, what will you do with Toga? You two have been seen together quite closely, Nizu pointed out. With her parents' permission, I want to take her with me to train her in her powers during our free time. As for the press, let them panic, I only intend harm for villains, Izuku replied confidently. What powers does Toga have? I know the hierarchy of the dragon race and that they were real, but not much else, Nizu asked. When dragons take a mate, their mate becomes immune to their powers, but that's between dragons, not dragons and humans. I suspect her body may adapt to have more dragon-like features, such as scales, horns, and wings, and she may be able to use my powers. All of this has been confirmed except for the wings, Izuku explained, shocking most of the people present. Now, for my other idea that I've wanted to implement for a long time but lacked the right excuse, a dorm system, Nizu announced. We or more I would be your excuse? Izuku asked. Yes, of course, because of this, I can agree to 1 or 2 of your demands for a dorm room, Nizu said with a smirk. Well, in that case, with Toga's parents' permission, I want a room we can share, that is pass-card locked, and has its own bathroom and kitchen, Izuku said, returning the smirk. Agreed, Nizu replied, shaking hands with Izuku. Both were smirking, leaving everyone else in the room uneasy except for Toga. I should never have allowed this meeting. As long as he doesn't plot world domination, we will be fine, a sleep-deprived Aizawa thought. Oh, Izuku, you never told me why I can't erase your quirk. Well, you just learned that I am a dragon. My quirk, which I didn't have for long, allows me to transform into a dragon. My father, Zakaria, was the last true dragon before me. He performed a blood adoption, literally replacing all my DNA related to my ex-parents with his own blood, making me a dragon and ensuring my power is inherited a bloodline that cannot be turned off or stolen while I am alive. Does that answer your question? Izuku explained. Yes, and for that, you get a sneak peek at what we are doing tomorrow, class president elections, Aizawa said. Okay, and I will be lightning traveling to school to avoid the press, so please ensure there is a clear area in front of the school, Izuku said as he held hands with Toga and slipped into the shadows. Well, that went better than I expected, Vlad remarked. You teachers will need to get parental permissions for the kids to enter the dorms. Aizawa and Vlad, make sure your classes are ready for the USJ in 2 days. That should be all for now. You may leave, Nizu said, looking out the window with a smirk. Oh, and Aizawa, meet Izuku outside when he arrives tomorrow. Okay, Aizawa replied as he stood up and left. The next day in front of the school. How is he going to travel with lightning? It's a perfectly clear day, Aizawa thought while looking up at the sky. Just then he saw a streak of light crossing the clouds. A bolt of lightning struck the ground in front of him. Once the light cleared, Aizawa saw Izuku and Toga standing there. How did you do that? My power controls electricity, not necessarily lightning or thunder. I can manipulate static electricity, Izuku explained. Okay. Remind me to never get on your bad side. Wait, doesn't that mean you could seriously hurt someone with little effort? Aizawa asked. You catch on quickly. Yes, I can do that, but I wouldn't. Well, maybe when he retires, I might paralyze All Might, but that's just a thought for now, Izuku replied. Well, let's get to class, Aizawa said as they started walking to 1A. As they entered, they were bombarded with questions. That fight was amazing. It was so manly. Kirishima exclaimed, tears in his eyes. But the loudest voice came from Izuku's past. How could you do that to Dad? Izumi shouted at him. You got lucky, you fake, Katsuki and Katsumi chimed in. You're dead when All Might comes after you, Shoto added, and everyone turned to him, except for Izuku's past. It's true, he doesn't stand a chance against All Might. You're stupid. How did you even get into UA? We literally saw him almost get hurt yesterday. Kirishima said. I could have seriously injured him without a second thought, but I needed to show him my power so he would leave me alone, Izuku said. Now be quiet, we have class. Okay, today we are doing class president elections, Aizawa announced. Everyone started suggesting names. How about we vote? Ida proposed. But we haven't known each other very long, Momo pointed out. That's the point. Whoever gets the most votes will be the best choice, Ida insisted. Would that be okay, sensei? Do whatever, Aizawa replied, drifting back to sleep. Okay, Momo, can you please make us a box and some paper? Ida asked. Sure. Momo responded. No way am I being class president with her as my vice. Ida, your president, Izuku declared. Thank you, Drago, Ida said. Time skipped to lunch. Izuku and Toga were sitting together when Kirishima approached. Yo, Drago, is it okay if we sit here? He asked, followed by Ida and Momo. I don't mind, Izuku replied. So, Drago, why did you call that dragon your sister? Ida asked. From what I've overheard, you were Izumi's brother? Well, Izumi is now my ex-sister for a few reasons, but the main one is that my adoptive father, who is now my biological father, performed a blood ritual to change my DNA, making me no longer related to them. As for Astra, she was my father's daughter. He never told me how she died, but she did, along with the rest of his children, except for one, who was lost long ago, Izuku said, a hint of sadness in his voice. I'm hoping to either find her or a descendant of hers and take care of them if needed. So, in other words, you're an uncle or cousin? Momo asked. Yep, Izuku replied. Just then alarms blared. Level 3 security breach, a robotic voice announced. People started running around in a panic. What does that mean? Izuku asked a random person. It means someone got past the UA wall, he said before running off. Stay here, I'm going to look out the window, Izuku said. He unfurled his wings and flew to the window. Looking outside, he saw reporters, but also a man in a black hoodie by the gate walking into a portal. Everyone calm down. It's just news reporters. You're hero students, so get your act together. Take those injured to Recovery Girl and calm down. Izuku shouted, managing to stop everyone in their tracks. They quickly followed his instructions. I have a bad feeling about this, he thought. You did well, thank you, Drago, Ida said when Izuku returned to their table. Yeah, but I still have a bad feeling about this, Izuku replied. The next day, USJ Day. It was the day after the reporter incident, and everyone was in class. Okay, today we are going to the USJ with Class 1B, their teacher, All Might, and one other teacher, Aizawa announced. Get into your hero costumes and meet me outside by the buses. He walked out, and Izuku grabbed Toga, teleporting them to the changing rooms. Once they were done, before anyone else arrived, they teleported out to the buses, startling Aizawa. You two need to stop doing that, you're going to give someone a heart attack. Oh, and Vlad, you probably already know, but these two are Izuku and Toga, Aizawa said. Nice to officially meet you too, Vlad said. You know, Drago, you've caused a lot of trouble for the school in just a week. Yeah, I do my best. Also, may I have permission to use my quirk in emergency cases? Izuku asked. Why? Aizawa inquired. Let's just say my dragon instincts tell me there's going to be a problem, Izuku stated. I will allow it, and thanks for letting me know, Aizawa replied just as everyone else arrived, including Class 1B. All right, all you problem children, get on your buses so we can leave. Everyone boarded. With Izuku. Hey, Drago, why do you have heterochromatic eyes? So you asked. I don't really know. My guess is that it has to do with my powers, Izuku responded. Wait, do you mean my eyes could look like yours? Toga asked. It's possible, but since you have a quirk not directly related to dragons, I think you might end up with a blood-red eye and a blue eye, though that's just speculation, Izuku explained. I usually just say what's on my mind, Durgo. So, what's your connection to Himiko? So you asked. Well, by human terms, we are betrothed or engaged, but by dragon standards, we are mates for life. If someone were to hurt her, I would go into a rage until either she was okay or I dealt with the person responsible. Since she isn't fully dragon, she wouldn't go as crazy if I were hurt, but she would still feel a strong urge to retaliate, Izuku answered, shocking the entire bus. So, protect Himiko at all costs or you go berserk. Got it, Kirishima said. Shut up, we're here. Get off, Aizawa said. Everyone quickly disembarked. As soon as they did, Izumi and Uraraka fangirled over, "Welcome to the unforeseen simulation joint," 13 explained as they walked in. Here, we can simulate a multitude of disasters, but I have a couple of things I need to say. My quirk, Black Hole, can be incredibly useful, but also very dangerous. Some of you have risky quirks that need to be trained for rescue situations, and this is where we will practice. Who do you even have, fake villains? Kirishima asked. Izuku and Aizawa exchanged glances, both aware that Izuku had sensed something earlier. Stay back, 13. Vlad, protect the students. Izuku and I will handle this, Aizawa instructed. One moment, sir. I can teleport them out of here, Izuku offered. Then do it. You all get help, Aizawa replied. Wait, where's Toga? Izuku asked, panic rising in his voice. He turned and spotted the mist man with Toga. Shigaraki, I've got the girl, Kurojairi announced. Izuku dashed forward, summoning his scythe and engaging the villains. He struck at shoulders, arms, legs, and chests, moving with precision. No one could stop him. Some mutants tried to block his path, only to be seen a moment later, incapacitated. Aizawa, get your student back. He's putting himself in danger, Vlad urged, disgust evident in his tone as he observed the chaos unfolding. I wish I could. When he was on the bus, he said that if she was hurt, he would lose all reason. It doesn't look like he's lost it yet, but that might be because she's only being held. If they were to hurt her, they would all be in serious trouble. Even now, he's only knocking them out or sending them to the hospital. We need to get Nizu and the police here, Aizawa said. I see why he asked for permission to use his quirk. He literally can't get in trouble for this, Vlad noted. He's cheating. Kurojairi, break her arm. Try to get him to stop. Shigaraki commanded. Kurojairi complied, and Toga let out a scream not of a girl, but of a beast that had lost all reason. Izuku's scales enveloped his body, his fingers transformed into claws, and his eyes glowed with fierce colors. His crown appeared, midnight black with deep purple and blue gems. He summoned another scythe, and from that moment on, the villains were in serious trouble. What? Cheater, cheater, cheater. Noom, take him down now. Shigaraki shouted. The bird-like creature lunged at Izuku, landing a punch that sent him crashing into the staircase. Izuku quickly regained his footing. So, is this the best you can do, all for one? Was this supposed to kill me or All Might? Haha, this thing couldn't even touch me. Izuku taunted, his voice deep and menacing. Aizawa, I think Durigo has lost it now, Vlad said, concern creeping into his voice. There's nothing we can do. The students have escaped, and 13 is getting more pros and police. All we can do is wait and assist him if needed. Aizawa replied. Izuku charged at the Noom, slashing at it and severing its right arm, which immediately regenerated. Undeterred, he struck it in the head with an electrified fist, effectively neutralizing it. What? That was supposed to kill All Might. How did you take it down? Shigaraki screamed. Izuku appeared before him and landed a powerful punch, sending Shigaraki flying. This caused Kurojairi to release Toga in order to catch Shigaraki. We will be back, for we are the League of Villains, Kurojairi said before teleporting away. Izuku carried Toga to the entrance just as the police and pro-heroes arrived. "Fear not, for I am here," All Might proclaimed, but when he surveyed the scene he saw badly injured villains and one very furious Izuku, who was being calmed down by Aizawa and Vlad. "You are late, Mr. Number 1. Izuku shouted as he walked past All Might, searching for Recovery Girl. "What happened here?" Nizu inquired. Izuku, Toga was injured, which triggered his protective instincts. It caused him to enter a mode where he wanted to eliminate all villains. While he didn't kill anyone, they will all be hospitalized. He had a feeling something bad was going to happen, so he asked for permission to use his quirk in emergencies, which I allowed. "He won't be in trouble for this incident," Aizawa explained. "Okay, remind me never to let anyone hurt Toga. We will have a meeting to discuss this and expedite the construction of the dorms," Nizu said as he walked away. Izuku sat in Recovery Girl's office, waiting for Toga to wake up. Recovery Girl had already healed Toga's arm, restoring her to her usual calm state. That's when Aizawa entered. "Durigo, you are needed in Nizu's office to explain what happened," Aizawa said. "And I will be escorting you there." "Okay," Izuku replied, glancing at Toga. "Let's get going," he said as he stood up. In Nizu's office, the principal greeted him. "It's good to see you, Durigo. Now, what happened at the USJ from your perspective?" "Well, I had been feeling uneasy since yesterday, which is why I asked to use my quirk in emergencies. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. When we arrived at the USJ, 13 briefed us, but that's when Kirishima noticed villains emerging from a portal. I was about to teleport everyone out when I realized Toga wasn't with the group. I saw her with the warp villain. I didn't completely lose my reason because she wasn't hurt, just being held. I value my sanity, so I charged in and took out most of the villains. But then the handyman ordered the mist villain to break Toga's arm, thinking it would stop me. Oh, how wrong he was. From that point until they fled, I don't really remember much," Izuku explained. "Okay, so you fought with permission to use your quirk in an emergency, which this certainly was, and you ensured you wouldn't lose your reason." "Correct." Nizu confirmed. "Yes, sir, but that's not the only reason I'm here, is it? I explained my condition on the bus, so what else do you want?" Izuku asked. "Well, I'm planning to give everyone a week off so the dorms can be built, so I need to know of anything that might be a danger to us, you, and particularly Toga," Nizu said. "That would be my old friends and my ex-family," Izuku stated. "And why is that?" Nizu inquired. "Simple, sir. If they target Toga or her family, they will learn what it feels like to be inside a volcano if they survive," Izuku replied with a fierce glare. "Well then you may leave now," Nizu said. Izuku exited the room. "So, what do we think?" "Technically, he did nothing wrong," Vlad remarked. "Aizawa, how well can you keep Izumi, the Bakugos, and the Todorokis in check?" Nizu asked. "Well, sir, I do not know. There isn't much I can do without getting pressured by their parents for Izumi and the Todorokis, but I could manage the Bakugos as long as All Might stays away from them, which is unlikely," Aizawa replied. "Nizu, how are we going to get their rooms set up? They had quite a lot of demands," Midnight asked. "Well, we can give them the upper floor of their building. Basically, make it an apartment," Nizu suggested. "Okay, but should we place it on the girls' side or the boys' side?" Aizawa asked. "Good question, but I think we should put them on the boys' side or have a separate elevator for them. They did want it pass card protected," Nizu explained. "That doesn't sound bad. What should we do if someone tries to break in?" Aizawa asked. "Punish them. If Izuku or Toga do not want them in, then if they try to get in or break in, punish them. Give them extra homework, chores, or take away privileges," Nizu said. "Okay, I can work with that," Aizawa agreed. During the week, Izuku spent most of his time packing up his apartment. As they were walking into the dorms, Aizawa began to explain the layout to them. "This is where you will be living for the next 3 years of your life. Male rooms are on the right, female rooms are to the left," Aizawa said, sounding exasperated. "Sir, why is there an elevator in the middle if there are only 2 sides?" Ida asked. "Well, it only applies to 2 of you. That elevator goes to the top floor, which is basically an apartment, and Aizawa was cut off. Wait, when you say two of us, does that mean that brother and Toga are getting a room together? Izumi shouted. Yes, F.O. Aizawa stopped, sensing an intense aura coming from Izuku. What did you say? I hope I heard you incorrectly. Could you repeat what you just said? Izuku asked, his voice low and dangerous. Everyone felt a chill except for Toga. Durgo, calm down, Aizawa urged. Izuku's gaze shifted to Aizawa. You heard what she said. Am I supposed to let that pass? He said. No, but for now let it go this once, Aizawa replied. Fine, but if anyone calls my girlfriend that again, there will be consequences, Izuku said as he moved to hug Toga. Now then, the elevator in the middle goes to the top floor and is pass card protected. Only Izuku and Toga can decide who can go up or give someone a pass card, Aizawa explained. Before you set up your rooms, you are not done with fighting. The sports festival is coming up. You have 1 week to train and get accustomed to your new life here. Now go get set up. Your stuff should be in the main hall except for Dirago's and Himiko's, which are in your room. Aizawa concluded and walked away. Let's get to it, Mina said enthusiastically. Small time skip to when everyone is done. But where are the lovebirds? Mina complained, tired of waiting. You don't think they are? Are they? Ojiro questioned. No, we're not. Just keep in mind that we have a full apartment, and I mean full, Izuku said as he walked in with Toga. Well, do you guys want to do a room competition? Mina asked excitedly. No, I believe it is Izuku's bedtime, Toga said, glancing at Izuku, whose eyes were drifting shut. Oh, well, the rest of us can do it, Mina said. And just like that, the competition began. Like in the anime, Shoto won by incidentally bribing all the girls. Next time, small time skip to the start of the sports festival. Chapter end. Third POV. Day after they moved to the dorms. So, what is everyone doing? Kirishima asked the group. Probably training, was the general response. I will be helping Toga train with her new powers, Izuku said, receiving confused looks from the rest of the class. What do you mean new powers? Izumi asked. You don't need to know. Just leave me and her alone, and we will get through it, Izuku said dismissively. Fine. Izumi huffed as she stomped away with her friends to go train. So, are you going to tell us now that they are gone? Kirishima asked. Well, because I am part dragon, and my mate's physiology will change to adapt to my powers, she will have some control over them. That is why she has had scales growing from her neck, Izuku explained. The class stared at him in shock. Well, we best get to it, Izuku said, grabbing Toga and Shadow traveling out of the room. Did he just drop a massive bombshell on us and then leave? Mina asked. It appears so, Kirishima said as the class dispersed to train. With Izuku and Toga. So, from what I have seen, you have some control over electricity, so we will be training your resistance to it for the first 3 days. The last 4 days we will train on absorbing it and outputting it. Are you good with that? Izuku asked. I am fine as long as I am with you, Toga replied. They went to one of the gyms to train. Izuku ran a low amount of electricity through Toga to slowly build up her resistance. When the 3 days were over, Izuku started working with her on outputting it, but something interesting happened during lunch on the 5th day. The class was having lunch together when suddenly a mass of shadows began moving toward Toga. Yo, what is that? Kirishima said, pointing to the shadows. This caught Izuku's attention because, 1, he was not manipulating them, and 2, they were headed straight for Toga. Izuku quickly ran over to Toga, who was on the floor, struggling in pain. He picked her up gently and rushed toward the doors, shadows pursuing them. Everyone, get that door open now. And stay away from the windows. Izuku shouted. Kirishima, being the loyal friend he was, dashed to the doors and opened them just in time for Izuku to sprint past him. Izuku made his way to the center of the yard, hoping that Toga's transformation wouldn't be as catastrophic as his own and that he could manage it a bit. Even with Izuku's efforts to contain it, the area around the 1A dorms turned as dark as midnight, devoid of any moonlight. The students of Class 1A, being the curious bunch they were, gathered in front of the windows, watching the unfolding events. Suddenly, a flash of light pierced the darkness, a bolt of black lightning with white edges. "Oh, come on, it has to be black lightning," Izuku muttered. Just as he finished speaking, the lightning struck both him and Toga. The electricity spread out in a semicircular pattern. The class panicked. Kaminari, seeing the dangerous lightning approaching, ran out the door and acted as a human lightning rod. When the dust settled, Kaminari was on the ground, still conscious, but the most striking sight was Izuku and Toga. Izuku stood protectively in front of Toga, whose appearance had indeed transformed. Black scales adorned the back of her neck, trailing down her spine and forearms. Her horns were red with black lightning patterns, and most notably, she had blood-red feathered wings, reminiscent of an angel. Her blonde hair and cat-like eyes remained, but one eye was now blood-red while the other was electric blue, mirroring Izuku's own. "Well then," Izuku said as he caught Toga, who was beginning to fall. "Training will have to change, my queen," he added, before carrying her into the dorms and to his elevator to help her to bed. "What just happened?" Izumi asked. "Was that how Izuku got his current form? Everyone okay?" Aizawa asked, arriving with Nizu, Vlad, All Might, Midnight, and Green Telek. "Yes, sir. Do you know what just happened?" Ida inquired. "Yes and no. Can you give us the details?" Nizu asked. "All we saw was the black dome around the dorm, and we came running." "Well, sir, it appears that Himiko just transformed into something akin to a dragon," Ida explained. "Thank you. All of you off to your rooms?" Aizawa called Tsukachi and Toga's parents. "Once they arrive, Aizawa, you and I will talk to Izuku," Nizu instructed as he took a seat. Aizawa then made the calls, and within 20 minutes, the parents arrived. "Sir, what happened to my daughter?" Mr. Himiko asked anxiously. "Well, it seems she transformed into something similar to Izuku," Aizawa replied. "Oh, what great news. But isn't it earlier than expected?" Ms. Himiko asked her husband. "It would appear so. Sir, can we see them?" Mr. Himiko requested. "Now that you are here, yes, we can go up," Nizu said. They began walking to the elevator, where Nizu scanned a card for access. The elevator opened, and they stepped inside, ascending to the floor. "Mr. and Ms. Himiko, did you know this was going to happen?" Aizawa asked. "Yes, we did, but we and Izuku believed it would take longer," Mr. Himiko explained. "Could you explain it to us?" Tsukachi asked. "You will get the rundown soon. Just wait," Ms. Himiko replied. A minute later, the door opened. They entered the living room, which featured a couch in the center with 2 recliners on either side. In front of them was a 70-inch TV, and a coffee table sat in the middle. There were 2 doors, one of which was open, revealing a bathroom. The other door was closed, but a small arch led into the kitchen dining room. Hearing noise from there, they decided to investigate. They found Izuku leaning on the counter with a cup of coffee in his hand. "Hello, how are you?" "Oh, Mr. Aizawa, you're here. Would you like a cup of coffee?" Izuku greeted them. "Yes, but we are not here for a casual greeting," Aizawa said, taking a cup from Izuku. They then sat at the table. "So, what do I owe this visit?" Izuku asked. "Well, we would like to know what happened earlier, and now that I see you, why do you look exhausted and seem to be missing something?" Nizu inquired. "Well, what happened is she transformed like me," Izuku explained. "Then why wasn't it as destructive?" Nizu asked. "It was a combination of both of our powers, making it more powerful. I tried, and mostly succeeded, in controlling and limiting it," Izuku responded. "Well then, 2 questions. How powerful? What are the consequences?" Nizu asked. "Well, sir, if I hadn't limited it, it could have caused acid rain all the way to mainland America. As for how it affects us, it will increase our protectiveness of each other, and well, look at my mate mark," Izuku said, turning his neck for them to see the mark. "Why does it have another claw mark over it?" Aizawa asked. "See, although dragons have mates, if their mate dies, they can find another. While they might not be perfect for each other, a dragon can mate with another without a mate. This means, from what I understand, our souls are now intertwined." If she dies, I would essentially go insane, seeking vengeance on everyone related to her death before I eventually perish. The same goes for her. It also intensifies our longing to be together. As far as I know, there are only 2 cases where a mate has died after bonding, Izuku explained. And what happened to that person? Nizu asked. They were my father and brother. My father's mate was killed by my brother after his own mate died while in the care of Zacaria's mate. Zacharia didn't go insane because his fatherly instincts prevented him from harming his own son, so he went into hiding. As for my brother, he is believed to be dead, but I suspect he is still alive. My brother was a true dragon, and he possesses the last remnants of true dragon power that I do not have, Izuku said. So, basically, if Toga dies, you become an unstoppable rage monster, killing everyone until you either die or regain your sanity. Correct. Aizawa summarized. Basically, Izuku confirmed. Well then, will you both be able to participate in the sports festival? Nizu asked. We should be fine, Izuku replied. Oh, can you call Recovery Girl to come up here to check on Toga since she is waking up? Izuku said, standing up and walking toward his bedroom. One last question, Nizu said, stopping Izuku. If your brother is a true dragon, then why are you called the last true dragon? What do you think happens when a true dragon, who is supposed to be just and righteous, goes insane and harms some of the most powerful people? I'll tell you. He becomes a villain, a corrupt dragon, or a calamitous dragon. Essentially, evil incarnate. Now I have to go check on Toga, Izuku replied as he finished walking out. Nizu then called Recovery Girl to come to the 1A dorms and informed Aizawa that she would meet him on the ground floor. Nizu then went into the living room to continue his conversation. So, what color scales, horns, and most importantly, wings did she get? Ms. Himiko asked. Her scales are black, her horns are red with black lightning patterns, and her wings. Well, they are breathtaking. They are blood red, but interestingly, they are feathered like that of an angel, Izuku said, looking as if he was lost in thought. With that, Izuku walked into their bedroom and saw Toga trying to sit up. Hello, my queen. What happened? Tell me the truth, Toga said. Well, you transformed into a dragon. Human. Half-breed thing. It just means we are closer than ever before, both biologically and in terms of love for each other, Izuku explained. Oh, and we have some guests, so let's get you into a proper shirt and go say hi to them. Oh, can you carry me? I don't think I can walk, let alone sit up, Toga said, looking down at the bed with a deep crimson blush on her cheeks. Anything for you, my majesty, Izuku said with a smirk, causing Toga to blush even more, if that was possible. He grabbed one of his shirts that had holes in the back and helped her put it on. Once that was done, Izuku carried Toga in a princess style out of the room and onto the couch. Honey, I think we might need to save up enough for grandkids so we can spoil them as much as we want, Ms. Himiko said, causing both Izuku's and Toga's faces to flush, which did not go unnoticed by Mr. and Ms. Himiko. Please don't say things like that. Besides, we have guests in the room, Toga protested. Oh no, you can continue this conversation. It makes for good family dynamics, Nizu said. Listen, if you try to bribe me and my family, you'll find a darkness blade at your doorstep, Izuku warned. Just then, Aizawa and Recovery Girl entered. So, I heard I have someone who needs to be checked on, Recovery Girl said as she walked up to Toga, clearly noticing the horns, scales, eyes, and, of course, the wings. Do dragons have this kind of transformation? No, since we were not originally dragons, we have this kind of transformation. She should be fine, just tired, but since I'm no doctor, I thought it best to call one, Izuku explained. Okay, can you take her to your room so I can do a checkup? Recovery Girl asked. Yep. Izuku picked up Toga again and brought her back into their room, followed by Recovery Girl. He then walked out. So, what do you think of those wings? They're so beautiful. How soft are they? Ms. Himiko asked. Very. Now then, what else do you want? Izuku said, turning to face Nizu and Aizawa. We will help if we can in training her for the sports festival if need be or give you access to the proper grounds, Nizu said. Okay, but why are you being so kind to me and her? Izuku asked. Well, that's because we have no control over you, and since I've made it public that you represent a whole race, we have to give you some privileges, Nizu replied. Okay, if that's all, you can leave now, Izuku said. One more thing. When is the wedding going to be? Nizu asked as he turned around and quickly walked into the elevator. Aizawa, stay here with my parents, I have a rat to chase, Izuku said as he sprinted to a window. He opened it and jumped out. Well, that was interesting. Anything you want to talk about? Aizawa asked. Yes, we would like to know how they are doing and how they are behaving, Mr. Himiko said, getting a nod from his wife. Why? Aizawa said, feeling nervous at the smirks on their faces. We just want to be prepared for their wedding, Ms. Himiko said. With Nizu and Izuku. That was a close one, Nizu thought as he stepped out of the elevator. What he did not expect to see was Izuku in front of him. How did you get down here faster than the elevator? Windows are nice. Now then, what did you say? Izuku asked. It was a joke. Come on, everything is fine, Nizu said nervously, feeling the intensity of Izuku's presence. Okay, but you should really watch yourself, Izuku said, walking into the elevator. You do know where rats are on the food chain. With that, the elevator closed. The next day, Toga was able to get back to training and started to learn how to use her wings. The last 2 days were spent helping Toga practice extending and retracting her wings. Okay class, everyone go get ready and line up for the festival, Aizawa said as he walked to join Present Mike in the announcer's box. Izuku teleported himself and Toga to their room to get changed. What do you guys think of Toga now? Izumi asked. Well, she may look different, but she is still the same, Kirishima said. She hasn't changed mentally, but I am considering the fact that their souls are now intertwined. I mean, he did avoid telling us what would happen, Ida said. I personally like how Toga looks, it's just like Durigo. The two of them are meant to be together, Mina said. They are, but what would happen if one of them gets hurt? Won't the other go into a frenzy? Ojiro voiced his concern. If they had that little control, then they wouldn't be allowed to participate in the festival, Ida replied. Sure. Whatever you say, Ojiro responded. With that, they went off to change and head out. Small time skip, inside the stadium. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the UA Sports Festival. I am your host, Present Mike, with Class 1A homeroom teacher, Eraserhead. Let us start to introduce the stars of this festival. PM shouted into the microphone. We have the class that fought off villains, both 1A and 1B. Then we have General Studies 1C, 1D, and 1E. After that, we have Support Department classes 1F, 1G, and 1H. Give it up for our first years. And for our lovely judge, we have Midnight. As Midnight stepped onto the stage, swaying her hips, many of the males in the audience started to blush. Toga, of course, glanced at Izuku to see where he was looking. To her surprise, he was focused on the ground, acting like a supportive boyfriend. Welcome. Can I have Izuku Durigo come up and give the opening speech? Midnight announced, prompting Izuku to walk up the stage steps. I would like for everyone to try their hardest, to play fair, and to go beyond, plus ultra. Izuku declared, his last words echoed by the crowd. A short but true speech. Now then, for the first 3 events, we have the Midnight paused to spin the wheel. Obstacle race. You must go around the stadium and get through the obstacles. Now then, line up, get ready, and go. Midnight concluded. Shoto and Shoka froze the ground, temporarily trapping most participants. After a few moments, everyone was up and running, except for 2, who were holding hands and sharing a sweet moment. Ah, Eraserhead, aren't those 2 in your class? PM asked over the speakers. Yes, they are. Why? Aizawa replied, turning his head to look at the entrance. Well, they are basically engaged due to Durigo's quirk. You see, because Durigo has a dragon quirk, he had a mate more or less assigned to him. Granted, they liked each other before, but his quirk is different, Aizawa explained. But why are they kissing in the middle of the festival? PM inquired. Just wait and see, Aizawa said with a smirk. Okay, it looks like Shoto Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, and Izumi Yagi are all tied for first and are nearing the beginning of the third obstacle, which consists of fake landmines with flashy explosions, PM announced. So, do you want to fly or just teleport to the end? Izuku asked Toga. Just teleport us there. I want to keep as many things secret from the others, Toga replied. They are now nearing the end of the minefield. PM said. Well then, time to go, Izuku said. He took Toga's hand and shadow-stepped to the finish line. And the winner is Izuku Drago and Toga Himiko? PM exclaimed, sounding surprised. What happened, Aizawa? You see, part of Drago's quirk is that he can teleport with it, Aizawa said, smirking. Oh. And in second place is Izumi Yagi, followed by Todoroki and Bakugo, PM added. At the finish line, Katsuki scoffed, that loser didn't even make it past the finish line with his. He stopped abruptly as he felt a wave of intense energy directed at him from Izuku. How did you get here? Katsuki asked nervously. Well, you should remember that I can teleport. Now then, what were you about to say? Izuku asked, his presence growing more intimidating. Now for the next event, we have a cavalry battle. Basically, a person forms a team of 2 to 4, with one of them being held by the other 3. The rider cannot touch the ground, or that team will be eliminated. Midnight interrupted before things could escalate. Question, Izuku said. Go ahead, Midnight replied. What are the rules on flying? Izuku inquired. As long as you stay in the stadium, you should be fine, Midnight said, unaware of the implications. Well, points go up by 5. So if you place 42, you would have 5 points. The winner will have 10 million points, but since it was a tie, both Durago and Himiko have 5 million points. Now get your team together. Well then, my lovely queen, do you wish to be my teammate? Izuku asked with a dramatic bow, extending his hand to Toga. Of course, my king, Toga replied, taking Izuku's outstretched hand. 15 minutes later, the teams were formed. There were 11 teams. The main teams were Izumi's, which included Shoko, Shoto, and Katsumi. Then there was Katsuki's team, the same as Canon, and lastly, Izuku, who was carrying Toga. Get ready and start. Midnight shouted. Then something unexpected happened. Both Izuku and Toga revealed their wings, Izuku's dark blue scaly wings and Toga's blood-red feathered wings, and flew into the sky. What? Sensei, is that legal? A random student asked. As I said at the beginning, as long as they do not leave the stadium, it's fine, Midnight replied nervously, glancing at Nizu for confirmation. He simply nodded. What? Why didn't you tell me they could fly? PM exclaimed at Aizawa. If a hero is to win a fight, they need to have surprises up their sleeves, Aizawa replied. The chase was on as the students tried to grab each other's headbands. Katsuki, being himself, used his explosions to propel himself into the air, aiming for Toga's headband. Hello there, Izuku greeted. Get out of my way, fake. You are going to lose. Katsuki shouted. You didn't get that reference. Anyway, how well can you maneuver in the sky? Izuku said just before he punched Katsuki in the gut, sending him straight to the ground. That would have been the end if it weren't for Siro catching him with his tape. We have to go after other people if we want to get into the next round, Siro said, encouraging Katsuki to follow the plan. Everyone was running around, trying to collect as many headbands as possible. A few attempted to reach Izuku and Toga but either failed or were swiftly knocked down, disqualifying them. After half an hour, the teams that advanced were Izuku's, Izumi's, Katsuki's, and Shinso's. Good work. We will now have an hour break before we proceed to the 1v1s, Midnight announced. The rounds will be as follows. 1. Durago vs Shinso. 2. Shoto vs Siro. 3. Yagi vs Ishido. 4. Shoka vs Katsumi. 5. Kaminari vs Himiko. 6. Kirishima vs Tetsu. 7. Shizaki vs Katsuki. 8. Yaoyorozu vs Aoyama. 1 hour time skip. Can I have one half of the power couple come out? Izuku Drago. Mike shouted. And now for his opponent. Though he has not done much of notice, he is the dark horse of this festival. Hitoshi Shinso. They then walked out onto the arena. Okay, are you ready? Midnight asked, receiving nods from both contestants. Start. You know, it must be nice being blessed with a powerful quirk. You know, I bet you got everything you ever wanted. Or am I wrong? Shinso asked. Izuku began, feeling a strange sensation wash over him. Why can't I control my body? He thought. Good, now walk out of bounds, Shinso commanded. Izuku's body started to move, but then it halted. So that is how your quirk works. Interesting, Izuku said, turning to face him. What? How is it not working? Shinso exclaimed. Well, your quirk is designed to be used on those with weaker wills. In some legends, dragons are said to be children of a god or blessed by one. While those tales may not be true, dragons do live much longer, almost immortal, with stronger bodies and minds. That makes us resistant to being controlled by others, Izuku explained as he walked toward Shinso. Oh, and if you think you had a tough life, imagine how a quirkless person is treated. For most of my life, my quirk was dormant until I was 14, so I know what it's like to be treated as if I were quirkless. Picture this, everyone trying to sabotage your education, and even your own family forgetting about you. Being bullied, more like tormented every day by people you once considered friends and family. Only when you walk a mile in someone else's shoes can you truly compare your life to theirs, Izuku said, appearing behind Shinso and pushing him out of bounds. He then left the stunned crowd behind. Hey, how are you? Toga asked Izuku when he reached the bottom of the stairs. Just a bit mad. Had to let off some steam, Izuku replied. Well, the crowd is still silent, so I think your speech made an impact, Toga said as they walked to their seats. When they arrived, Izumi and Mina were called down once the ice from Shoto's attack had melted. Down in the arena. You should just surrender. I don't want to hurt you too badly, Izumi suggested. Nope, you're going to have to win fair and square, Mina replied. Don't say I didn't warn you, Izumi said as Midnight started the round. Izumi lifted Mina with her telekinetic powers and flung her out of bounds without holding back. In the audience, Izuku saw this and teleported down to the arena, catching Mina just before she hit her head against the wall. Izumi, that was unnecessary force, Izuku said as he set Mina down. If she had hit her head like that, it could have been serious. If you do that again, you'll be absent from class for several days, he added, his tone serious. Is that a threat, you faker? Izumi stammered. It's not a threat. It's a promise, Izuku replied, glaring at Izumi, causing the crowd, except for a few pro-heroes, to feel uneasy. He then teleported back up to Toga. Okay, can I have Shoto Todoroki and Katsuki Bakugo come down? Mike shouted. They then proceeded to their fight, with Katsuki winning the match in a similar fashion to how he defeated Shoto in canon. Okay, can I have the second half of the power couple come forth, Toga Himiko and Kaminari Denki? Mike shouted. They walked out onto the arena. This should be fun. You know that lightning bolt helped increase my capacity, Kaminari said. Well, that's good for you, but it won't help much, Toga replied. Midnight then started the match. 5 million votes? Kaminari shouted as he unleashed 5 million volts of electricity at Toga. For her part, Toga simply waved her hand, causing her horns to glow and spark. The wave of electricity then ricocheted back towards Kaminari, zapping him. After being hit twice, he entered his overload mode, and Toga took the opportunity to throw him out of the arena. Denki was thrown out of the arena. The winner is Himiko, Midnight announced. Okay, let's get the next match underway. Small time skip to round 2. Okay, the second round contestants are 1. Durago vs Shoto. 2. Yagi vs Katsumi. 3. Himiko vs Kirishima. 4. Katsuki vs Yaoyorozu. Can the male half of the power couple, Izuku Durago and his icy friend Shoto Todoroki, come out to the field? Mike shouted. Izuku, being dramatic, used lightning travel to appear in the arena, scorching the surrounding area. Shoto walked up calmly. You know, if you want to beat me, you're going to need to use your flames, Izuku advised Shoto. Oh, and Mike, just so you know, we are not friends. Izuku shouted. I'm going to show my old man that I don't need to use his flames to beat you. If I can beat you, I can beat All Might, Shoto replied. Your funeral, Izuku said as Midnight started the match. Izuku blurred out of sight, then reappeared in front of Shoto, punching him into the air. He vanished again, reappearing to deliver another punch that sent Shoto over the line, partially knocking him out. Man, I held back, and you could only take one hit, Izuku said, eliciting gasps from the audience. Okay, Izuku Durago is the winner, Midnight declared. Okay, can Izumi Yagi and Katsumi Bakugo come down to the arena? Mike shouted. They walked down together. Well, are you going to give up now or after I beat you up? Izumi asked. Shut up and let's fight, Katsumi replied. Midnight then started the match. Katsumi charged at Izumi but suddenly found herself unable to move. Izumi, after stopping Katsumi, ran straight at her and punched her in the gut using one for all at 30%. Izumi then let Katsumi move again, causing her to fly backward. Katsumi recovered and began firing explosions at Izumi. After several missed attempts, Katsumi aimed for the ground, causing debris to fly up and hit Izumi. Having had enough, Izumi unleashed her full power and flung Katsumi out of the arena. Izuku, somewhat reluctantly, teleported down and caught Katsumi before she hit the wall. Whoa. I warned you what would happen if you did that again, so be prepared, Izuku said before teleporting back up. The winner of this match is Izumi Yagi, Midnight announced. Can I get the female half of the power couple, Toga Himiko, and her opponent Kirishima? Mike shouted, prompting both of them to step onto the arena. Look, I'm sorry, but I want to save my energy for Izuku and Katsuki, so I'll be ending this quickly, Toga said. Midnight then started the match. Kirishima began to charge at Toga but suddenly found himself outside the arena, next to the wall. Well, that was interesting. The winner is Toga Himiko, Midnight announced. Toga then walked up the stairs. So how badly are you going to handle Katsuki? Izuku asked. Well, since you can't fight him, I was thinking of giving him a solid punch, and then maybe a little shock to keep him down, Toga replied. What about Izumi? I'm planning to send her to the recovery room for a few hours, maybe the rest of the day. She could have seriously hurt two of our classmates, Izuku paused. And the winner is Katsuki. Can Izuku Durago and Izumi Yagi come on out? Mike shouted. In the announcer box. Mike, since he's running late, route this camera feed to the big screen, Nizu instructed, showing the camera feed of the hallway where Izuku and Toga were. Oh, so you're pranking him? Aizawa remarked, to which Nizu just grinned. Aizawa and Mike then put it on the big screen for everyone to watch, with audio. Back to Izuku and Toga. Well, wish me luck, Izuku said, turning away. What? No good luck kiss? He asked, glancing back at Toga, who playfully grabbed the collar of his shirt and gave him a quick kiss. Happy now? Izuku asked, receiving a nod. Well then, get out there and show him what you've got, she said, skipping away to the waiting room. This moment had most of the audience swooning. Izuku then dashed out to the arena, unaware that his kiss had been shared with everyone. Now we have Izuku going against Izumi. And start! Midnight announced. Izumi attempted to lift Izuku but failed. Izuku walked up to her. Having trouble using your powers on me? He asked, but Izumi remained silent. Standing right in front of her, Izuku swung an arm at her with 2% of his strength. Seeing his arm raised, Izumi channeled 5% of one for all into her own arm and met his fist with hers. She expected him to be thrown back, but instead, it was she who was flung away. You know, 5% isn't going to stop me. In fact, I don't think even 100% could, Izuku smirked at her shocked expression. Not wanting to prolong the fight, he quickly appeared in front of her and punched her in the gut with 5% of his strength. Before she could fly out of the arena, Izuku increased his speed and landed multiple punches, 3 to her gut, 2 to her right shoulder, and 1 heavy punch to her face, which he suspected knocked some teeth loose. Once he stopped, she flew out of the arena, unconscious. Let's move on to the next match. Can I have Toga Himiko and Katsuki Bakugo come on out? Mike shouted. They stepped into the arena. Are you both ready? Midnight asked, receiving 2 nods. Okay then. Begin. I can finally get you out of here, out of Izuku's life. Katsuki shouted, eliciting gasps from the crowd. You know, if he wanted, he didn't have to choose me, but I doubt he would pick your sister. She's just not his type, Toga replied. You better back off. Katsuki threatened. Or what? Going to call your friends? Toga taunted. I don't need help to take you down. Once you're out of the way, I can have Izuku all to myself. He's stronger than All Might, and if I can take him out, no one can stop me. Katsuki shouted, a crazed look in his eyes. The crowd murmured, then fell silent, feeling an immense pressure. They turned to see it was emanating from Izuku. Honey, if you would be so kind, make it so he can't walk. Don't worry if you don't, I will, Izuku said, his voice low and intense, sending shivers down their spines. After he spoke, Toga rushed in and punched Katsuki in the gut. When he stood back up, she greeted him with a punch to the face, then grabbed his head and brought it down onto her knee, causing a crack. You talk big but can't back it up, Toga said, delivering a right hook to his face. With Katsuki stumbling, Toga charged her right hand with electricity. Once charged, she appeared behind him and struck his lower back with her fist, paralyzing him from the waist down. And that should do it, but just in case. Toga spun around and threw him out of the arena. As he flew through the air, he somehow managed to create an explosion to keep himself within the boundaries. All you got? Katsuki asked, spitting out blood. Oh, you want more? Toga began charging purple flames in her chest and throat. Let's see if you can survive this, she said, releasing some flames from her mouth. Cementus! Midnight shouted. Cementus quickly raised walls between them. Toga unleashed the fire, and though the walls slowed it down, a massive explosion followed. When the smoke cleared, Katsuki was outside the boundaries, with a chunk of cement missing from the right side of his body. Winner by knockout, Toga Himiko, Midnight declared, noticing Katsuki barely breathing. We will have a brief intermission to repair the arena. With that, Katsuki was taken for medical care, and Toga headed to the recovery room as well. With Toga, what are you doing here, Himiko? RC asked. Oh, I just wanted to let you know that you won't be able to fix his legs, Toga said. Oh, and why is that? RC inquired. Well, I severed the electrical signals going to his legs by creating an electrical barrier that cut off his nerves, Toga explained. Only I or Izuku could remove it. Well, thank you. Do you think you or Durigo could remove it so he could walk again? RC asked. We might, but it will take a few days at best, especially after what he said he was going to do to me, Toga replied. Well, as long as there's a possibility. Anyway, you should go out for your next match, RC said, receiving a nod from Toga as she left. Okay, now that we have fixed the arena, can I get both halves of the power couple to come on out? Mike shouted. Izuku and Toga took that as their cue and walked up to the arena. All set? Are you both ready? Midnight asked, getting a nod from both. Then begin. Midnight-sensei. Izuku and Toga started in unison. I forfeit this match to Toga Izuku. They paused, looking at each other in surprise. You take it, Izuku insisted. No. You take it, Mr. I will be number one, Toga shot back playfully. I insist you take it. I can't fight you. Besides, I already am number one, since I got you, Izuku replied with a smile. Well, I'm pretty sure I can't fight you, so you take it, Toga said, blushing. Their light-hearted argument drew chuckles from the audience, who found their dynamic adorable, while others marveled at how their personalities had shifted. Stop! Nizu called out as he stepped into the arena. I will allow a one-time favor for you two. You can both be tied for first place. His announcement elicited gasps from the crowd. Thank you, Principal Nizu. Izuku and Toga exclaimed simultaneously. Now then, I believe it's time for the awards ceremony, Nizu said, walking out of the arena. 15-minute time skip. We now have our winners here, except Midnight began, but was interrupted. Ha ha ha, I am here. All Might shouted as he jumped down from the roof into the arena. To present the medals. He picked up the third-place medal and walked over to Katsuki, who was in a wheelchair. All Might placed the medal around Katsuki's neck and hugged him. You did well. Don't worry, I will take care of everything, he whispered. All Might then grabbed the second-place medal and approached Izumi. Since there were 2 first-place winners, they awarded Izumi second place. He placed the medal on her and hugged her, whispering, I am proud of you. As All Might moved to get the first-place medal, a voice interrupted him. I will be giving them their medals, All Might, Nizu said, appearing out of nowhere. I had to get it modified for them. He revealed a medal that was cut in half so it could fit together. Nizu approached Izuku, placing the half medal on him. Well done, Drago, or should I call you Your Majesty? Nizu joked, eliciting a laugh. He then went over to Toga, placing the medal around her neck. Well done, Ms. Himiko, or should I call you Mrs. Drago? He said just loud enough for both Izuku and Toga to hear, causing them to blush. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the winners of this year's first-year sports festival. Midnight announced. 4,259 words. Chapter End. Third POV. Next day in class. Okay, over the course of today and the next 2 days, you will be picking which hero you will be doing your internship with. But before that, you must come up with hero names, which I will not be doing, Aizawa began, but was interrupted as Midnight entered the room. I will help you pick your hero names, Midnight said. You want to use something that describes you and what kind of hero you want to be. Aizawa then retreated into his sleeping bag. Small time skip. Only doing Toga's, Izuku's, Izumi's, Katsumi's, and Shoka's names. The rest are the same as canon. Okay, next up, Yagi, Midnight said, beckoning him to come up to reveal his name. Power hero, all Telic, Izumi declared. Interesting, but I'll take it. Next, Katsumi, Midnight said. Explosion hero, ground zero, Katsumi replied. Accepted. Shoka, Midnight continued. Half and half hero, Frostburn, Shoka said. Nice, going back to your dragon roots. Now for Himiko, Midnight called out. The blood dragon hero, Fangpir, Toga declared. Oh, getting inspiration from your original quirk and using Dirago's whole dragon theme, Midnight noted. Now that that's done, you can choose which hero agency you want to go to, Aizawa said, emerging from his sleeping bag. Choose wisely. He turned on the screen showing how many requests had come in. What the how did Durago get 4,000? Usually it's more spread out, but this year every hero wants to get Durago, Aizawa explained as he passed out stacks of papers. For those who did not receive requests, the school has a few places you can go. Now get to it. Aizawa's last words were accompanied by a slight activation of his quirk, startling the students. Izuku took the top 10 offers from the top heroes, sifted through them, and burned 3 of them. Drago, why did you just burn 3 offers? Kaminari asked. They were from my ex-parents and Endeavor, Izuku replied calmly, causing shocked expressions to spread across the class. I've been wondering who are your ex-parents? Kirishima asked. Do you know who Izumi's parents are? Izuku countered. No, Kirishima admitted. Well, we were twins, but my adoptive now biological father performed a blood ritual to make me his son. As for my ex-family, my parents were the number 1 and 5 heroes, also known as All Might and Green Telek, Izuku explained. The entire class stared at him, dumbfounded. Hey, Toga-chan, where do you think you will be going? Izuku asked, as if he hadn't just dropped a bombshell. I was thinking either Hawks or Ryuku. Where do you think you will go? Toga replied. Not only is he now at the top of my list, but he also has wings like us, Izuku said. Do you think he will take us both on? Toga asked. I don't see why not. He should know we are a couple. He also sent us both requests, Izuku answered. If you're nervous, we can ask Nizu to call him. About that, Aizawa interjected as he walked over. If you want, you can both go there. I don't know how he is going to keep you 2 under control, but if he succeeds, I will get him to tell me how, Aizawa said quietly. Thank you, Mr. Aizawa, Izuku replied. Now then, Does that ease your concerns? He asked, turning to face Toga. Yep, Toga replied. Time skip, Shoko was going with Shoto, Katsumi was with Katsuki, and Izumi was headed to Grand Torndo. The rest were following the original plan. At the train station, departing for their respective destinations, Izuku noticed a look of determination on Ida's face. It was unusual since Ida had better offers, especially considering his brother had been attacked by the hero killer staying in Hosu. Hey, Ida, if you need to talk, I'm here for you, Izuku said, his voice filled with concern. I appreciate it, but your concern is unnecessary, Ida replied. Just promise me you won't do anything reckless, Izuku urged. With that, Ida boarded his train. I'm worried about Ida. I have a feeling he might do something rash. I hope he stays safe, Izuku said as he approached Toga, who was waiting. You're probably right, Toga agreed as they boarded their train. The ride to Kyushu City was uneventful. Toga fell asleep on Izuku's shoulder, but aside from that, nothing noteworthy happened. Time skipped to the city. Wake up, sleepyhead, Izuku said, gently poking Toga's face. Our stop is next. 5 more minutes, Aizu, Toga mumbled. Seeing they had 7 minutes left, Izuku decided to let her have them. Okay, but only 5, he said, kissing her forehead. 5 minutes later, he nudged her again. Time to get moving. What was that? Toga asked, blinking sleepily. I called you Hime. Don't you like it? Izuku asked, feigning tears and a pouty face. No. It's just that I haven't heard you call me that before. Not that I don't like it, I love it. Toga exclaimed, waving her arms animatedly. Really? You mean it? Izuku asked, still pouting. Of course. But why did you call me that? Toga inquired. Well, when I woke you the first time, you called me Aizu, so I had to come up with something in return. He kissed her forehead again, causing her to blush. Oga Aizu. Oh look, the train is stopping. Toga quickly replied, changing the subject. They grabbed their bags and made their way to Hawk's agency. When they arrived, the building was about 5 stories tall, with a glass wall at the entrance. Izuku and Toga walked in and approached the counter. Excuse me, miss, but we're here for the internship, Izuku said. Yes. Himiko, Toga and Durago Izuku, correct, she said, receiving their nods. Just let him know you should be here soon. A minute later, Hawks swooped down in front of them, startling Toga. Where did you come from? Toga asked, wide-eyed. I had this building custom-made so that people who can fly have easy access to the upper floors, Hawks explained. Now, follow me. I'll show you to your room, and then you can meet me in the office. He took off, flying up to the 5th floor, with Izuku and Toga following after extending their wings. They settled into their room before heading to the office and knocking. Enter, Hawks called. Why did you call us both here? Izuku asked. Well, you both seem quite strong, Izuku, more than Toga, but what you lack is experience. Also, I heard you, Himiko, got your wings right before the festival. I want to see how fast you can fly with minimal effort, Hawks explained. You're also part dragon, or did I hear incorrectly? Part. No, I'm a dragon. Toga is only part, though I wonder if that will change, Izuku replied. Okay, let's head to the roof. For the schedule, I'll help Himiko get used to her wings, and aside from that, we'll be patrolling. I believe you two are strong enough for that, Hawks said, walking toward the stairs leading to the roof. Sir, are we going flying or patrolling now? Toga asked. Flying. For the next 2 weeks, we'll be patrolling Hosu at night, looking for the hero killer. They ascended to the roof. See that cell tower over there? It's about 2 kilometers away, Hawks said, receiving 2 nods. Race you to it. He took off flying. Izuku and Toga followed, Izuku faster than Toga. Well, you two are pretty quick, but let's pick up the pace. Go as fast as you can, Hawks encouraged, speeding up. Seriously? A chicken wants to race 2 dragons, one equivalent to a newborn and the other an adult? You, sir, are foolish, Izuku said, then flew past Hawks, reaching his top speed. Toga, still getting used to her wings, trailed just behind Hawks. When they arrived, Izuku was sitting on the edge, playing with a shadowy knife. Did you just call me a chicken? Hawks asked, surprised. Yep, Izuku stated confidently. Was that your top speed? Hawks asked. Because if it is, I need to work hard to keep my title as the fastest hero alive. Top speed? You said flying, not teleporting. I assumed I shouldn't ride lightning, which, if you didn't know, is as fast as light, Izuku replied. Well then, I might have lost my title, Hawks said with a mock pout. Not yet. Remember, I'm not an official hero yet, Izuku reminded him. That's my boyfriend for you always being nice to people, Toga said, hugging Izuku. Wait a minute, if Durago can teleport, does that mean Himiko can too? Hawks says. Unfortunately, not yet. I should be able to do it later, but I don't have enough experience with my dragon powers, Toga said, a hint of disappointment in her voice. Don't worry, Hime. You'll get there. You've only had your powers for a little over a week, and look at all the things you can do, Izuku said, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. If she's only had her powers for a week, what was her original quirk? Hawks says. It's called transformation. Basically, if I drink someone's blood, I can transform into them. That's why my eyes have a cat-like shape and why I have fangs. If I don't drink blood often enough, I can lose control, Toga explained. How come you're not losing control right now? Hawks asked, inadvertently hitting a sore spot. That's because I let her drink my blood when she doesn't have blood bags available, Izuku said, offering reassurance. Though she does prefer my blood to the bags, Izuku said. We should head back now. The next weeks of night will be late, Hawks said, preparing to take off. Hawks, sir, put your hand on my shoulder, Izuku said, standing up and picking up Toga in a bridal style. Hawks placed his hand on Izuku's shoulder, and Izuku then shadow teleported them all back to Hawks' office. That was disorienting, Hawks said, stumbling around when they appeared. We will be going to our room now, Izuku said as he proceeded. When they arrived in their room, Izuku gently placed Toga on the bed. Let me guess, you haven't had blood today and didn't bring any, so you want mine? Izuku asked, prompting Toga to look down and nod shyly. Okay, go ahead, Izuku said, taking off his shirt to make it easier for Toga. She bit down and began to drink his blood, unaware of the blush on his face. Once she was finished, they changed into their pajamas and climbed into bed. Good night, Izu, Toga said. Good night to you too, Hime. Izuku then leaned in and kissed her on the lips, and they fell asleep with their arms wrapped around each other. Chapter end. Izuku POV. 3 days after they got to Hawks' agency, the past 3 days have been uneventful. The majority of the crime in Hosu has stopped due to the number of heroes pursuing Stain. We have only had to intervene in a few minor robberies. This will be the 4th night we go out, Izuku thought. Hey, we are heading out now, get up to the roof, Hawks shouted. Well, time to go, Izuku thought. 3rd POV. Hawks, Izuku, and Toga took off into the night sky, heading towards Hosu. 2 hours later, at 11:30 p.m., they arrived to find the city in chaos. What is happening? Toga asked. Villain attack. It looks like Nomu. The League of Villains is attacking, Izuku said. Just then, both Izuku and Toga's phones went off. What about you, Toga? Did you get the same text? Yep, Toga replied. Sorry, sir, but our classmate might be in trouble. Toga and I are going to check it out, okay? Izuku said. Sure, but before you go, any advice for those Nomu, as you called them? Hawk says. Aim for the brain. Those things aren't human. Can you grant Toga and me permission to use our quirks? Izuku requested. Thanks, and I, Pro Hero Hawks, allow Izuku Midoriya and Himiko Toga to use their quirks in defense of themselves and others, Hawks said. They then split up, heading to the location Izumi sent in the group chat 5 minutes ago. 30 minutes ago. We see a figure crouched on top of a water tank. He has swords and daggers strapped all around his body and wears a red and white face mask. It was the hero killer, Stain. He was on the hunt. With Ida 20 minutes later. Ida was racing through the alleyways, searching for Stain while ignoring the fires and Nomu in the city. That's when he passed an alley and spotted him. Ida dashed down the alleyway, using his quirk, and kicked at Stain with all his might. Stain managed to dodge and swung at Ida with his sword, knocking Ida's helmet off. "Look here, kid, run along. You are not my target right now, but if you continue, you will be on my kill list," Stain said, leveling his blade at Ida. Ignoring both the threat and the hero native on the ground telling him to get lost, Ida spoke out. "You are the reason my brother can no longer be a hero. He was a great and just hero, and you took away his legs. For that I Ingenium shall take you down." Ida shouted. "Huh, you're his brother? I let him live to tell the tale. You know, a real hero wouldn't go after someone for revenge, they would also prioritize getting the injured out of the way first. You are no hero, you're just a kid playing dress-up," Stain said. Ida, in his determination, lunged at Stain, trying to kick his legs out. Stain jumped above Ida's leg, spun in the air, and brought his sword down on Ida's shoulder, cutting into it. Landing on the ground, Stain brought the bloody part of the blade to his mouth and licked the blood, paralyzing Ida. "Look here, kid, you have lost." Stain stabbed Ida in the right hand and then pulled back. "This is where you meet your end." Stain was about to stab Ida in the chest when a green blur shot down the alleyway and punched Stain in the face, sending him off Ida and back a meter. "Are you two here for revenge?" Stain asked. "What are you doing, Ida?" Izumi shouted at him. "Great, another fake," Stain said before lunging at Izumi. Izumi grabbed Ida and jumped back. "What are you doing? Get out of here, this is my fight." Ida shouted at Izumi. "You know he's right, kid," Stain said to Izumi. "Leave, or 3 will die tonight." Izumi charged at Stain, attempting to hit his face. Stain leaned back, dodging the punch, and as he did, he took a swipe at Izumi with his sword. Izumi used her flexibility to twist her body just right to avoid the slash. Suddenly, an ice spike shot down the alleyway, knocking Stain back. "You know, next time send more than just your location," Shoto said, coming to stand next to her. "Stop. This is my fight." Ida screamed at them. "What's the plan, Izumi?" Shoto asked. "Hold him off until the heroes arrive?" Izumi suggested. She and Shoto then charged at Stain. Shoto shot an ice wave at him, which he dodged, but it cut off his escape. Izumi blasted forward, using both her telekinesis and all for one, and punched Stain in the chest, pushing him through the ice wall. As he was being pushed back from the punch, Stain cut Izumi with a dagger. He then brought the dagger to his mouth and paralyzed her. "Shoto, do not let him cut you," Izumi shouted. Shoto began to charge up his flames, but he was smacked, stopping his charge. "Hey, who hit me?" Shoto shouted. "I did, you idiot," Izuku said, stepping in front of him. "You know, Izumi, you really know how to pick your fights. Fongpir, get Ida and Native out of here. Shoto, go get All Might. I will hold off Stain." Izuku then formed his shadow scythe and charged at Stain. "You are one cocky kid, but at least you're getting the injured ones out of here first." Stain then met Izuku halfway. Izuku's scythe blade cut right through Stain's sword, leaving Stain with a nasty cut on his chest. "Is that scythe your quirk? If so, you will still lose." Stain then drew 2 daggers. They went back and forth. Stain was accumulating more and more cuts on his body, while each time his dagger made contact with Izuku, a small spark would flare up. Due to the darkness of the alleyway, Stain couldn't see the scales covering Izuku's body, except for his face. "How are my blades not injuring him?" Stain thought before the end of Izuku's scythe slammed into his chest, pushing him out into the street. Izuku then stepped out of the alley, allowing Stain to finally see his scales, horns, and wings. "You're the kid who tied for first place in the UA Sports Festival. What was it?" "Ah, part dragon if not whole," Stain said. "You got it, Stain. My question for you is, why do you try to change hero society from the outside?" "I agree that this society is corrupt, largely because of the heroes. So tell me why?" Izuku asked as he charged forward, swinging his scythe. "If you see this society as wrong, why do you fight for it?" "Answer that, and then I shall answer," Stain replied, crossing his daggers to block Izuku's attack. "Because the Hero Commission is a significant part of the problem. If someone who sees what's wrong with this world rises to the top, they might be able to fix it. but you can never get to the top from the outside. So, what do you see as wrong in this society? Izuku asked, breaking away and jumping back. Heroes, some are just and right, but the majority are only in it for wealth and fame. Heroes should not only fight crime but also help clean up communities and assist those who can't help themselves. There are very few heroes like that, and even fewer who reach high rankings. Nana Shimura is a true hero, Stain said as he charged at Izuku. Ah yes, All Might's mentor. Do you know that if she saw what he did to his own son, she would be rolling in her grave? It's ironic how someone can be such a hypocrite, proclaiming that anyone can be a hero, but telling his own quirkless son that he cannot be one. Since we see eye to eye, I have an offer for you, Izuku said, binding Stain with shadows. This is the second offer I've received tonight, Stain said, struggling to break free. Oh, and who was the first? Izuku asked, walking closer. The League of Villains. They wanted me to join them. I said no. All they want to do is destroy, but what happens after they destroy this society? Who will rebuild it? In simple terms, they lack conviction. Now I'm intrigued. What could you offer me? Stain explained, fighting less against the shadows. You said I'm a dragon, correct? Izuku asked, receiving a nod in response. Well, I'm no ordinary dragon, he said, entering his battle mode. His scales covered his face, his eyes glowed, and a crown appeared. Do you want to take a guess at what this crown represents? Izuku finished, stopping in front of Stain. A crown. The first dragon seen in hundreds of years, your power. You can only be one thing. It's amusing how you became it at such a young age. But if I say yes to your offer, what will you ask of me? Stain exclaimed. As king and one of the last dragons, I represent an entire race, though it may not be recognized by governments or even known. I am the leader of a kingdom. Why don't you join me? Izuku proposed. At this point, his friends, some pro-heroes, and a news helicopter were watching this fight and conversation. And how would I do that? Stain asked. You see, I have a friend who could potentially get the government to recognize my kingdom. All you have to do is seek asylum, and then we could attempt to change the society and world from the right side of the law. So, what do you say? Izuku asked, leaning on his scythe. You do know I'm no dragon and that I'm wanted by all of Japan? Stain said, receiving a nod from Izuku. Yes, I do, but there are always ways to change your blood to that of a dragon. My friend has enough leverage on the government to ensure you wouldn't be arrested on sight. So, do you want to help me change this world? Izuku said, offering his hand for a shake. Plus, it would be easier with you because of your fans. Many of them face trouble and discrimination. If we could change the world, then the discrimination against quirkless individuals, mutants, and those with villainous quirks would change. You talk big. I'd like to see this world of yours from outside a prison. If you can do it, I will help you break the foundations of this world. But if you accept me, who else will you accept? Stain asked. Just about anyone quirkless, mutants, and some villains. For villains, I would depend on what they did and what they want. I want to rebuild this society. I don't even want to be at the top, but this world needs to change for the better, Izuku replied. You know you'll face backlash for this, Stain warned. Izuku simply nodded. Well then I will help you. But how are you going to get me out of here? Stain asked in a whisper. Meet me there, Izuku said, passing him a piece of paper and whispering. Izuku then used the shadows to throw Stain back into the alley. As Stain ran away, Izuku created a solid shadow that looked and acted like Stain, which then charged back out of the alley. When the Stain clone attacked Izuku, he simply sidestepped it and knocked it out with a swift strike to the back of the head. Hawks then descended from the sky, unaware that the real Stain had escaped. Wow, I didn't think you'd fight Stain. Why did you engage him? Hawk says. Blame them, Izuku said, pointing over his shoulder at Izumi and Ida. Ida, my classmate, wanted revenge. I had to save them both and Shoto Todoroki. They all used their quirks, as far as I could see, Izuku explained. Okay, where are you off to now? Hawk says. Himiko and I are going to rest. I'll visit the hospital tomorrow to see Ida. If you need anything from me, you'll only find me there. Izuku then walked over to Toga and shadow traveled them to Stain's address. Izuku, why did the Stain clone feel like shadows? Toga asked. That's because it was a clone I made of him, Izuku replied. Is this because of the deal you made with him? Toga asked. Before Izuku could respond, a new voice spoke. Yes. He asked me to help him fix society, Stain said, stepping out from the shadows. He made me an offer that would ultimately be better than what I had before. Now. Stain turned to Izuku. Where am I going to stay? I can't help you publicly, at least not yet. And where will I be living? Well, as I mentioned, I have a friend who can help you get a new identity and possibly a hero license. As for where you'll stay, it will be at my house in the mountains, Izuku replied calmly. Who is this friend who knows about both of us? Stain asked. The principal of UA Nizu. That eccentric rat. Anyway, I ask him and he does it. I don't know why, but he always helps, Izuku explained. He then shadow traveled them back to his and Zack's home. Where are we? Stain asked, looking around the traditional Japanese compound. They stood in the courtyard, gazing at a temple-like house with white walls and red wooden beams, topped with a greenish-gray tiled roof. This is where I spent the last 3 years before returning to Mizudafu. This is where my father passed away, and I became king, Izuku said as he walked toward the door. Why are we here, Aizu? Toga asked. This house is built on a mountain range, making it difficult to access without flight or teleportation. It serves as the perfect hideout, and Stain, you'll stay here to recover and remain under the radar until I can get you a new identity, Izuku explained, opening the door and letting them in. The room they entered had hallways branching off to the left and right, as well as stairs leading to the next floor. The walls were primarily white with red wood, adorned with empty vases and paintings of mountain ranges. Does this place have any food or will anything at all? Stain questioned. Yes, you can also train here. If we're getting you a new ID, we'll need to change your appearance a bit. I think I can help with that, Izuku said, walking up the left staircase. Toga and Stain followed him, unsure of what to do. Once they reached the next floor, Izuku walked straight toward a door. Upon opening it, Toga and Stain were greeted by a large library. Be careful, some of these books are as old as, if not older than, Japan. You're looking at over 1,000 years of history, from the beginning of dragons to the present day, Izuku said, leaving them speechless. You have all this knowledge at your fingertips, and you still go to UA? Stain asked. Why yes. Now where is it? Izuku replied, scanning a section of books under the category of magic. Ah, here it is, he said, pulling out an old book with a leather and scale cover. What is that? Toga asked. This, Izuku said, raising the book, is a book about appearance-changing magic. With this, I can change Stain's hair and eye color. So, Stain, what color do you want? How about burgundy red hair and golden eyes? Stain suggested. You also mentioned you could change me into a dragon? Yes, but that will be for a later date when I know I can trust you more, Izuku replied. He then recited a small incantation that altered Stain's appearance. Now, since it's night and Toga and I have to report tomorrow, we should head to bed. The hallway on the left leads to the rooms, and the one on the right leads to the living room, kitchen, and bathroom. Izuku then guided them to their rooms, with Toga, of course, sleeping in the same bed as Izuku. Time skipped to morning. Okay, Stain, you have free reign of the house, just don't destroy it. Rest and train. I'm hoping to get you a new ID in about a week, Izuku said, holding Toga's hand as he gathered shadows for shadow traveling. Okay, I will prove that your trust is not misplaced. When I do, I hope you'll let me join your cause, Stain said, shaking Izuku's hand before he teleported away with Toga. Well, this will take a little while. Let's see what types of fighting styles they have here, Stain said, walking toward the library. With Izuku and Toga, they teleported outside the hospital where Ida and Izumi were located, then proceeded to walk in. How can I help you? The receptionist asked. We're here to visit a friend. Can you tell us what room he's in? Izuku replied. Okay, what is the name of your friend? The receptionist inquired. Ida, Tenya Ida, Izuku answered. Okay, Sir, he is en room. Do you need help getting there? The receptionist asked. No, ma'am, Izuku said, walking off with Toga. When they reached the room, they heard voices from Izumi, Ida, and, for some reason, Shoto. They walked in. Ni-san, Izumi exclaimed. Could you be any louder? You nearly blew my eardrums out. Ida, how are you? Izuku said, starting off harshly but calming down. Pretty good, although my hand has sustained permanent damage, Ida replied dejectedly. Good, now you have a reminder of what you did was wrong. But I do hope you make a full recovery. Now everyone, quiet down. We have guests, Izuku said, stepping aside to let Manuel, Gran Torino, Hawks, and the police chief enter the room. Hello, we're here to discuss the consequences of what happened with hero killer, Stain, the dog-headed police chief said. For Izumi Yagi and Tenya Ida, both of you would normally face expulsion from your school, but... What? How is that fair? I fought him to protect Ida, and why isn't Izuku in trouble? Izumi shouted. Izumi! Wait and sit back down. Izuku commanded, and it worked. Thank you, Jirgo. Now, as I was saying, normally you would face consequences, but there are a few reasons you won't. The first and most important thing is that no one outside this room knows you went after the hero killer. Secondly, if you turn over your credit to Durigo here, no one will find out, the chief said. But how is that fair? We fend him off, do some damage, and all the credit goes to Izuku. Shoto said angrily. Well, there are a few reasons why he can and will not face any consequences. First, he was authorized to use his quirk. Second, he was the one who captured Stain. Third, he was on the news. And finally, the country heard parts of Durigo's and Stain's conversation, especially when Stain loudly proclaimed Durigo to be both a true hero and the king of the dragons. Basically, the public is on his side. So, he gets off scot-free while we have to give him our credit for a quirkless loser. I will not do it. Shoto shouted. Listen, if you do not give it up, you will be expelled from UA, and there is nothing your father can do. You either give it up or you will not become a hero, the police chief said sternly. I may be foolish and sometimes say things I regret, but I am not outright stupid. I will not let all my credit go to Durigo, Ida said. I will do it too, Izumi said begrudgingly. I will, but when I become a hero, I will reclaim it when I put you 6 feet under, Shoto said, glaring and pointing at Durigo. Well, now that that is settled, can Hawks, Himiko, and I go to UA for a chat with a certain mouse? Izuku said. Yes. Just be sure to return to my agency afterward. We will go on patrol after you get back, Hawks replied. With that, the police chief, Hawks, Manuel, Gran Torino, Izuku and Toga left. When Izuku and Toga arrived at UA, they approached Nizu's office. Knock, knock, you clever little creature, Izuku said as he knocked on Nizu's office door. Come in, Nizu said, looking up. What can I do for the King of Dragons? He finished. Well, since you're being so accommodating, I'm here to discuss Stain, Izuku said, raising an eyebrow. But about what? I heard you took him down, Nizu said. What? I didn't notice, Izuku replied. Notice what? What did you do? Nizu asked. If I am to tell you, you need to ensure that it does not leave this room. Okay? Izuku requested. Well, if it is that important, I will allow it. Now, go ahead, Nizu said inquisitively. I need you to create a new identity for someone, Izuku said plainly. Oh, who is this person, and why do you think I would do this for you? Nizu asked. Back when the dorms were established, you mentioned 2 favors. I used one. As for who he is, his name is Kaizome Akaguro, also known as Hero Killer, Stain, Izuku stated. There was a moment of silence. Nizu did not speak until he finally exclaimed, What? You want me to get a high-ranking criminal out of Tartarus and give him a new name? How on earth would I do that? Well, for starters, he is not in prison, and with his new eyes and hair color, it would be easy to get him a new ID, Izuku explained. What do you mean he is not in prison? Did you break him out? Nizu asked. He was never in prison, and he never will be if I can continue to get along with him, Izuku replied. How is it that he was not in prison? What they are holding is a clone made of shadows that is programmed to act like him before we met. I will also work as a spy, Izuku stated. You amaze me with your planning. If I am to do this, I want one thing, Nizu said. And what is that? Izuku asked. Protection under the dragon race. I know what you can do and how powerful you can become, so you scratch my back and I scratch yours, Nizu said. Done, if you help me find more dragons and dragon half-breeds, Izuku replied. That was not what we were discussing, Nizu said. Oh, I know, but placing you under my protection will ensure you live even longer and always have a home in the mountains, Izuku said. Fine, let's proceed with the oath, Nizu said begrudgingly. I, Izuku Durago, last true dragon, king of the dragons, and holder of the spirits of the dragon race, place you, Nizu, under the protection of the dragon race and kingdom, Izuku declared. Wow, I didn't know you held so many titles, Toga said. Now then, is there anything else you need? Izuku asked. Actually, since you are the winner of the sports festival, you can bring 2 friends with you to the I-Island Expo happening after your internships finish. I want to know if you will be attending. Nizu inquired. Sure I will. It has been a while since I saw Uncle Dave and Melissa, and if they want, I would like to bring Kirishima and Toga, Izuku said. Done. It happens a week after your internships finish. Have fun, Nizu said. With that, Izuku and Toga left, leaving Nizu to himself. These are going to be interesting years ahead, Nizu mused. These past 2 weeks have been boring, Izuku thought on the plane to I-Island. Kirishima joined my group, so it's Toga, Kirishima, and me. Let's hope trouble doesn't follow Class 1A this time. As Izuku and his companions neared I-Island, he said, Looks like we will be landing soon. Buckle up, you two. 15 minutes later, they touched down and walked out from the landing zone. Why did you guys invite me? Kirishima asked Izuku and Toga. Well, you are a good friend. As for why we are here, I mainly want to see my uncle and cousin, but I also enjoy looking at the inventions, Izuku explained. Yeah, and I at least want to build a good relationship with some of Izuku's family and extended family, Toga added. Okay then, where shall we go? Kirishima asked. If I remember correctly, and it hasn't changed, we are heading to David's lab, Izuku said. Wait, your uncle has a lab here? Who is he? Kirishima asked. David Shield, one of the head inventors here and a former sidekick to All Might when he was in America, Izuku stated nonchalantly. What? Let's get going. Toga exclaimed, trying to pull Izuku along. Stop trying to drag me. I should know where it is, but if I know the Yagis, they will be there right now, so let's go around, Izuku said, wanting to avoid his past at all costs. The Yagis were currently in David's lab, catching up. Do you guys have any news about Izuku? David asked. I have been working on some support items that should help quirkless people become underground heroes, mainly for my daughter here, but they should work for Izuku too. How have you been these past few years, my friend? All Might asked, coughing slightly. I have been good, David replied, wondering why they were avoiding the topic of Izuku. How about Izumi and Melissa go out and explore the expo and see if they can meet up with their friends who went off on their own? Sure thing. Let's go, Izumi, Melissa said, getting up and walking away from the room. Once they were out, All Might deflated. You have been getting a shorter and shorter time limit. How long can you hold it? David asked. About 2 hours, All Might said. Okay, come with me. I want to run some tests, David said, standing up, followed by All Might and Inko. Meanwhile, Melissa and Izumi had just come across the Mountain Robot Challenge. Wow, I never thought so many of my classmates would be here, Izumi thought. I wonder if we will find any more over here. They stopped at the railing to look into the challenge zone, where they saw Kirishima running around, taking down the bots as quickly as he could. What? Kirishima? He is not part of any major family, Izumi thought, watching him tackle the challenge. Hey Izumi, do you know him? Melissa asked. Yeah, he is one of my classmates, Izumi replied. 2 minutes for the challenge, an impressive feat for a non-hero, the announcer stated. Kirishima then made his way back up to the stands and sat next to Toga, who had gone unnoticed until now. The next challenger was Katsuki, who finished in 1 minute and 35 seconds. Then came Shoto, who covered the mountain in ice, finishing in 59.09 seconds. To Izumi's and Melissa's surprise, out came Izuku. "Hey, that girl sitting next to your classmate and the boy down there, weren't they the ones who won first place in the sports festival?" Melissa asked. "Yep," Izumi answered, then looked back to the field. "And start," the announcer shouted. In less than 5 seconds, all the bots were taken down by spikes made of shadows. "Call it," Izuku stated. What? 3.01 seconds. "That is the fastest of them all and a new record," the announcer shouted. With that, Izuku went back up to his friends to prepare to leave, but he spotted Izumi and Melissa and decided to approach them, primarily Melissa. "Hey there," Izuku said, walking over. "Oh, you were the one who won the sports festival. Are you one of Izumi's classmates?" Melissa asked. "Unfortunately, yes," Izuku replied. "Wait, why unfortunately? Also, my name is Melissa Shield. Nice to meet you." Melissa trailed off, holding out her hand for a shake. "Oh yes, Izuku Durigo. And is that really how you greet your cousin?" Izuku asked. "Wait, what do you mean cousin? I only have 2, and one of them is missing," Melissa said. "Missing? Izumi, did you not tell her what you did to me or that he has been found?" Izuku asked, exasperated. "What does he mean by what you did to Izuku, and why did you say me?" Melissa asked, stepping back from both of them. "Oh, Izumi here, her parents, the Todoroki family, and the Bakugo twins bullied me because I was quirkless, just like you are now," Izuku stated, glaring at Izumi. "Izumi, is that true?" Melissa questioned. "And who are you?" "Tell her." "Izumi, confess to your actions, how you betrayed and hurt your own brother." "Do it or I will tell her," Izuku said in a disturbingly calm voice. Izumi, who was now in tears, spoke up. "Look, I know what I did was wrong, but won't you just forgive us and come home with us, Nii-san?" Izumi pleaded. "Wait, you're Izuku Yagi? Why did you not tell me you found him?" Melissa shouted. Izumi did not answer because she was on her knees, crying. "It is because what they found is not Izuku. I was Izuku Yagi, but I left that name behind when I left my past. I am now Izuku Durigo, King of Dragons," Izuku declared. Melissa immediately hugged Izuku, prompting a small growl from Toga. Hearing the growl, Izuku decided to introduce Toga. "Ah yes, Melissa, this is Toga Himiko, my future partner." "Oh, I remember you. The last time Izuku visited, which I believe was a year or so after he turned 4, he told me about you. Nice to see you have him, but promise me that you will take care of him," Melissa said. "Nice to finally meet part of his family," Toga said. "Oh, do you want to go see Dad so you can both meet him at the same time?" Melissa asked. "Yeah, sure, that would be easier," Izuku stated. With that, Izuku, Toga, Melissa, and Kirishima walked away, leaving a crying Izumi with the Todorokis and Bakugos. We find Izuku, Toga, Kirishima, and Melissa walking into Melissa's father's lab. Inside, they see All Might and Inko. "So I ask again, any news of Izuku?" David inquired. "Oh, we found him a month or 2 ago," All Might said. "Why did you not tell me?" David asked. "It is because he has changed and we wanted to tell you ourselves," Inko stated nervously. "Tell me what?" "It has been 12 years since I have seen him," David replied. "Well, it is the reason he ran away," All Might said. "What do you mean, ran away?" David asked. "Well, I ran away because I was neglected, and my ex-sister and her friends bullied me quite a bit. They didn't want to tell you because they were afraid of what you would do if you found out the truth. Now then, All Might, Green Telek, get out of the room unless you want to go through the wall," Izuku said as he entered the room. "Kirishima, if you want, you can wait outside until we are done." With that, Kirishima stepped outside. "Who are you?" David asked, looking between Izuku, All Might, and Melissa. "Is that how you greet your nephew after 12 years? Izuku said with a mock pout. "Melissa, is he who he says he is?" David asked, looking at his daughter, who simply nodded. "Izuku." David exclaimed, standing up and wrapping Izuku in a warm embrace. "I'm back, uncle," Izuku replied, returning the hug but not as tightly. "Where have you been for the past 4 years? How did you get a quirk? And who is this girl next to you?" David asked, his questions coming out in rapid succession. "Well, this girl is well, in human terms, my fiancé. The rest of the answers will have to wait until they," Izuku said, gesturing to All Might and Inko, "are out of the room and preferably out of the building. If that's the case, you two out. I want to catch up with my nephew and his fiancée," David said, ushering them out of the room despite their attempts to speak. Once they were down the hall, David turned back to his lab and sat down in his chair with Izuku and Toga across from him. "So, where have you been?" David asked. "For the past year or so, I've been in Mizudafu, but for the last 2 months, I've been attending UA University," Izuku explained. "Next, when did you get your fiancée?" David inquired. "Well, she's my childhood friend. She was my only friend after the age of 4, and although she didn't know where I was due to my transformation, a mate was chosen for me. But we both loved each other before the whole mate thing," Izuku said, a hint of nervousness in his voice. "2, what do you mean after the age of 4, and you transformed?" David asked, puzzled. "I was diagnosed as quirkless, as you know, but because of that, my ex-parents neglected me, and my ex-sister and her friends bullied me along with everyone else in our school who had decent quirks. As for the transformation, right before I left, I had a bad day and awakened my quirk. What I have now is no longer just a quirk, it's something more powerful. I got into a fight, lost, and then flew away. A few hours later, I met a dragon, the last true dragon, who took me in. The next day, I became his blood-adopted son and heir to his power and title," Izuku explained. "Wait, you were the one who not only won the sports festival but also took down Stain," David realized. "Didn't Stain call you the Dragon King or something?" "Yep. You're looking at the King of Dragons and the last true dragon, and my mate, Toga," Izuku said with a cheeky grin. "So, All Might not only neglected you but allowed your ex-sister to bully you for being quirkless, when you had no control over whether you had a quirk?" David asked, incredulous. "Yep. Thanks to the blood adoption by Zacharia, the dragon who found me, I am no longer related to the Yagi family," Izuku confirmed. "No!" David shouted. "What happened?" Izuku asked, concerned. "I was working on a device that would enhance a quirk and the body to act as if it had a strength quirk. The council took it away from me, so at tonight's dance, I was going to have fake villains steal it from me," David said, holding his head in shame. "Why would you do that?" Melissa asked. "It was for you and All Might. You don't know this, but All Might's quirk is weakening, so I thought if he wore the device, it would let him be a hero for longer. The main reason, though, was for you. I hoped that if anyone, especially quirkless people, wore the device, it would make their bodies stronger, as if they had a quirk," David said, tears welling in his eyes. Seeing both David and Melissa in tears, Izuku spoke up. "I will stop them if needed, but if you can get them to back off, that would be good. Now, you wanted your daughter to have a quirk?" Izuku asked. "Yes," David replied. "Well then, with your and her permission, I can perform a blood ritual to make her my biological cousin and thereby part dragon. However, if I do this, she will have to swear allegiance to me and the dragon throne above all else. I would like her to come to UA so I can train her when her dragon blood awakens. I can get Nizu to allow her into either the hero course or the support course. The support course would be easier since she's already an inventor, but once her dragon blood awakens, she will be more powerful than most heroes with training and may even surpass All Might. The choice is yours. Also, I should mention that since I walked into the room, the cameras have been disabled and there's no audio input," Izuku said. "Who do you already have as dragons?" David asked. "Currently, I only have Toga, myself, and one other who, if deemed trustworthy and loyal, will become a dragon or part dragon," Izuku explained. "I would have expected you to have more, but you just made your appearance." "Who is that last person?" David asked. "Stain. What is in prison right now is a shadow clone made to act like him. The real Stain has never been in jail," Izuku revealed, shocking David and Melissa. "You're working with a villain?" David said, exasperated. Yes, but we share the same views and are just using different means to try and change things. Since my talk with him, he has pledged loyalty to me and my vision for the future. Nizu knows about this and is arranging a new ID for him, Izuku said. Okay, I trust you, but the decision is up to Melissa, David conceded. I think I will then. I have always wanted to be a hero but never could due to my quirkless status. This will allow me to be one. I also plead with you not to turn my father in for doing something so foolish, Melissa said, bowing respectfully. Do not worry, you and your father have nothing to fear. I will perform the blood ritual before I leave for UA. It should take about a month for the dragon blood to awaken. Once it does, which may be quite chaotic, I will teleport here to contain it. We should go now, Izuku said. I think my friend outside has been waiting long enough. See you at the party, and try to get the fake break-in cancelled. Izuku said as he got up and walked away. Outside with Izuku and Toga. You really think those villains are going to be fake, don't you? Toga asked. Yeah. He might believe they're just a ruse, but if he planned this with someone else, then they're likely real villains. Stay alert tonight, Izuku replied. Chapter end. Izuku, Toga, Melissa, and most of Class 1A were gathered, anxiously awaiting the arrival of their missing classmates, including Izumi, the Bakugo twins, Taisu, and Mina. Why are they late? Izuku complained. Maybe they got lost, Melissa suggested. Meanwhile, in the gala room, All Might was preparing to give his opening speech when the announcer called for him. Why didn't you tell me, Dave? All Might grumbled. Just do what you normally do, Inko encouraged. As All Might stepped onto the stage, alarms suddenly blared, and a warning message flashed on the screen behind him. The doors burst open. Everyone, stay still, shouted a thug, brandishing a weapon. The leader stepped forward, declaring, we have taken control of the island's security. As he spoke, blue cables emerged from the floor, restraining all the heroes in the room. We've also released the bots. Every person on this island is now our hostage. His gaze landed on Sam, David's assistant. You're coming with us, he said, aiming his weapon at him. Wait, I'm his boss. Take me instead, Dave offered, panic rising within him. Why are they here? I told Sam to cancel them. Did he betray me? The leader, known as Wolfman, seized both Sam and Dave. Back with Izuku and the others, Uraraka asked, why are the alarms going off? Villains have taken control of the security system, Melissa explained. What should we do? Kirishima inquired. All Might is in the gala room. Maybe we can get his attention, Ida suggested. They quickly made their way to the emergency staircase to get above the gala room. Once they spotted All Might, they signaled to him, successfully catching his attention. They have taken control of the security and have Sam and Dave with them. Get out of here, All Might urged. The class hurried back to the staircase. What should we do? Momo asked. We listen to our teacher and number one hero, Ida insisted. But Kirishima began. There are no buts. As the representative of Class 1A and by All Might's orders, we will find a safe place to hide. Using our quirks would break the law, Ida stated firmly. While he continued to emphasize their need for caution, Izuku, Toga, Melissa, and Kirishima huddled together in a corner. I'm guessing you're going to help? Kirishima asked. Absolutely. I'm not technically using a quirk, and I have a semi-pro license, Izuku replied. I want to help too. You'll need someone to restart the system, Melissa added. Count me in, Kirishima chimed in. Okay, then follow us. Since we're flying up the side of the tower, Toga will carry Melissa while I carry Kirishima. With that, Izuku led them back out to the front of the building. Meanwhile, Ida had just finished explaining why they should stay hidden. Wait, where are Durago, Himiko, Kirishima, and Ms. Shield? Ida asked. They went outside, Momo replied. What? Ida exclaimed, rushing toward the front entrance with the rest of the class in tow. When they reached the front, they saw Izuku and Toga carrying their two companions. Just as they came into view, Izuku and Toga took off, their wings creating a gust of wind that sent Ida stumbling. Well, I think they're going to handle everything, Momo said. With Izuku, he said, "We'll go up to the roof and then down from there. Once inside, you three will head to the control room while I go to the storage room to find David and hopefully stop the villains." "Are you going to be okay?" Melissa asked. "He will be. Besides, if he gets hurt, he goes into a frenzy, and he beat All Might," Toga said. "Frenzy?" Melissa asked, intrigued. "I go a bit wild. Let's move faster." With that, Izuku and Toga sped up, reaching the top of the tower in just 7 minutes. Once they landed on the roof, they descended to the level of the control room without being detected by the villains. "Okay, you three go to the control room. I'll go after David." Shadows enveloped Izuku, rendering him nearly invisible. Toga and the others separated and made their way to the control room while Izuku stealthily searched for the storage area. In the control room, Toga asked, "Melissa, how far to the control room?" "Just around this corner," Melissa replied. "Let me take the lead since I can't take damage with my quirk activated," Kirishima said, receiving nods from his companions. As they entered the control room, they spotted a villain at the computer. The villain noticed them and jumped up, pulling a weapon and firing at Kirishima. Thanks to his quirk, the bullets harmlessly fell away. Toga dashed out from behind Kirishima, charging at the villain. She ducked low, kicking him in the chin and sending him stumbling back. Then she leaped up and delivered a roundhouse kick to his head, knocking him out. "That was way too easy," Melissa remarked. "Get the system back up," Toga instructed. Melissa hurried to the computer and began rebooting the system. Guys, we have a small problem," Melissa said. "What is it?" Toga asked, concerned. "The rest of the class is in the terrarium, fighting against 2 villains," Melissa revealed. "What? I thought they were just going to hide." Kirishima exclaimed. "I guess not. Kirishima, can you go down there and help them out?" Toga asked. "Yeah, I'll go." Kirishima started to leave the room, but before he could exit, David appeared from the shadows near Toga. "What happened, Mr. Shield?" Toga asked. "Izuku is fighting the main boss," David said. Meanwhile, Izuku was cloaked in shadows, making his way toward the storage room. Upon reaching the door, he overheard a heated conversation. "Sam, what are you doing? I told you to cancel this." David shouted at his assistant. "If you're not going to help us, then be quiet. You two guard him. Sam and I will get the device," Wolfman ordered. Izuku knew it was time to intervene. "You know you should really stop. You'll end up fighting All Might if he gets here in time," Izuku warned. "You two buy me time while Sam and I get what we need," Wolfman commanded, dismissing the threat. One of the thugs charged at Izuku, throwing a punch. Izuku ducked just in time to avoid a punch, catching sight of 3 metal claws emerging from the thug's wrist. In response, he extended his own claws and swiped upward, leaving a mark across the thug's chest before jumping back. To his surprise, he noticed the cuts beginning to heal almost instantly. "That's quite an impressive quirk. Why didn't you choose to become a hero?" Izuku asked. Before the thug could respond, Izuku had to dodge a fist charged with electricity. "Wow, you have an electric quirk?" he noted. He quickly covered his right fist with protective scales and delivered a gut punch to the second thug, sending him staggering back. Izuku didn't have time to fully evade the first thug's next attack and felt 2 claws graze his cheek. Still crouched, he leapt up, wrapping his legs around the first thug's neck and spinning, slamming his head into the concrete floor. Coating his right arm in scales and electricity, Izuku landed a powerful punch to the thug's face, knocking him out cold. As he landed, he narrowly avoided being body slammed by the second thug. Recovering quickly, Izuku spun low to the ground, his body covered in scales. Once within 3 feet, he jumped, grabbing the second thug's head and smashing it into his knee. Releasing him, Izuku delivered a swift kick to the thug's head, sending him spinning and knocking him out. "Just one left," Izuku said, turning to face Wolfman, who was holding a case. "You're pretty good for a kid," Wolfman remarked. "But I don't have time for this." He placed his hand on the floor, sending metal pillars shooting up around Izuku. Trapped on all sides, Izuku grabbed Sam and ascended to the roof using one of the pillars. Breaking free from the trap, he sped up toward the rooftop. Once there, he spotted Wolfman and Sam, who now had a gunshot wound, lifting off the ground in a helicopter. Seeing this, Izuku fired a small lightning bolt at the rear propeller, causing the helicopter to spin wildly before crashing back to the ground. He then saw Wolfman stand up, putting on a quirk enhancement device. The sides and roof of the tower began to lift and collect around Wolfman, forming armor. He launched a massive pillar at Izuku, sending him flying toward the staircase entrance. That's when he heard a familiar voice that he both dreaded and appreciated at that moment. "Haha, fear not, for I am here." All Might shouted as he soared up the side of the building. All Might began to fend off the pillars that were closing in. Just then, the rest of the class arrived. "Izuku, how dare you ignore me? Once we get back, you won't have any free time." Ida shouted angrily. "Listen, you can't order me around. If I had known this is how you'd act as class president, I would have kept the position. This is a life-or-death situation, so pay attention," Izuku replied, catching a piece of rubble that would have hit Ida. How did you get that cut on your cheek?" Toga asked. "Fighting two villains at once," Izuku said, turning to watch All Might, followed by the rest of the class. All Might was about to punch Wolfman when he suddenly found himself ensnared in cables, immobilizing him. Wolfman reached out and crushed All Might's injury. "Just as I said, you're weaker," Wolfman taunted. He then formed giant spikes and launched them at All Might, but before they could reach him, they froze in midair. Everyone noticed the temperature dropping, and things began to freeze over. "You know, I really dislike you, All Might, but you need to survive this fight," Izuku said, lowering his head. He looked up at Wolfman, and his friends noticed white streaks appearing in his hair. A snowstorm began to swirl around the top of the tower. Izuku then took to the air, leveling himself with Wolfman. Glaring at him, he transformed into a mostly white dragon with dark frosted blue highlights, jagged wings, and a spiked tail. In his dragon form, Izuku unleashed a torrent of ice spikes. Despite his efforts to evade, Wolfman was struck by several of them, one just above his right knee, one in his left foot, and one in his right shoulder. "What are you doing? Heroes aren't supposed to kill?" Wolfman shouted, beginning to feel fear. Izuku charged at him, and just before contact, he angled upward, smashing his tail into Wolfman's armor. Now above him, Izuku gathered a massive amount of electricity from the impact. Once he had enough, he unleashed it at Wolfman while calling out the name of his attack. "Disintegrate all, Kirin." From the clouds emerged a massive red and black electric dragon. It locked onto Wolfman and surged forward, striking him before he could react. The impact caused a tremendous explosion that shattered Wolfman's armor and quirk enhancement device, leaving him barely conscious. Izuku then flew back to his classmates and transformed back. "Well, did you enjoy the light show?" he asked, noticing their shocked expressions. "Come on, close your mouths or you'll catch a fly." After his comment, they snapped back to reality. The following day, David approached Izuku. "So, are you going to perform the ritual now?" he asked. "I will." "Melissa, what element do you want to control?" Izuku directed his question at her. "How about water?" Melissa replied. Izuku nodded just as he was struck by a bolt of lightning. "Where did he go?" Melissa asked, looking around. "He went to his house to get the right blood," Toga explained as she walked over to them. "Wait, blood?" Melissa asked, confused. "Yep, he's going to change part of your DNA to that of a dragon. You'll be a half-dragon like me, while Izuku is a full dragon," Toga clarified. 5 minutes later, another bolt of lightning struck. Once the dust settled, Izuku stood there, beginning to draw a circle on the ground. "Melissa, I need you to stand in this and drink the blood in this cup," Izuku instructed, handing her the cup. "Is that all?" Melissa asked. "Yes, that's all. Now you will not have powers instantly, and to fully use them, you need to go through your awakening, during which you should gain wings and scales," Izuku explained as he stepped out of the circle. He began chanting, causing the circle to glow. Once he finished, he placed his hands at the edge of the circle and spoke, "Drink the potion now." Following his instructions, Melissa drank from the cup. Soon after, the circle stopped glowing. "Is that it?" Melissa asked, looking around. Yes, it is. Your transformation should occur in about a month. During that time, try to get into UA in whichever course you want. When the transformation starts, I will sense it and teleport over to help, Izuku stated. Thank you for all your help, David said as he hugged Izuku. It was no problem, uncle, Izuku replied, returning the hug. See you later, Melissa said. It was nice to meet you all. You have no idea how much I wanted to interact with any of Izuku's family that wasn't rude and stuck up, Toga said, waving goodbye. Izuku, Toga, and Kirishima then left for the port to head back to mainland Japan. Time skipped to Wednesday, the day after they got back. Everyone was currently sitting in class, waiting for Aizawa to enter. 2 minutes later, he did. Today, class, you are going to be studying for your semifinals at the end of the week, Aizawa announced, causing most of the students to panic. Hey, Izuku, could I study with you and Toga? Kirishima asked. Izuku looked over at him and replied, Sure, I don't see why not. Where do you want to study? My house, my apartment, or your house? Why do you have 2 houses, and how can you pay for them? Kirishima asked. My house is off the grid and not registered, and my apartment is in the city. I got a job to pay for that, Izuku explained, as if it were the most obvious thing. The conversation piqued the interest of Momo and Mina. You said you had a house off the grid? Mina asked. Yeah, why? Izuku replied. That is so cool. What's it like being able to go into the woods and have little to no human interaction? Mina asked, bouncing with excitement. It's nice, quiet, and free of distractions, Izuku said, looking at Mina. Could we see this house? Momo asked. Some of you, yes, Izuku replied. Can you take us to your house for studying? Mina asked eagerly. Sure, why not? Just tell me when and where I need to pick you up, Izuku said, somewhat reluctantly. How about outside school at 5 p.m.? Momo suggested for everyone. Yeah, Izuku said, waving his hand dismissively. Time skipped to pick up time and place. Most of Class 1A was outside waiting for Izuku when suddenly a bolt of lightning struck the ground 5 feet from them. Sorry, I had to clear out one of the halls, Izuku said as he walked out from the dust. One of your halls? Jiro questioned. Yeah, look, I'm the king of dragons. Did you think I would have a small house? Izuku said before walking over to them. Everyone grab my hand or someone who is touching my shoulder. Once everyone was connected, they were engulfed in shadow. A minute later, they emerged from the shadow in the middle of his courtyard. His classmates looked around in amazement. Your house is on a mountain? Kirishima shouted. Yes, it's on the side of the tallest peak, Izuku stated. How do people even get up here? Momo asked. That's the thing. Unless they can fly and get past the seals, no one can get up here unless they are or are part dragon. Now follow me. Izuku led them through the hallways until they reached a door. When it opened, his classmates saw a large dining room with an impressive table. Just then, someone walked down the hallway past the door. Oh, you're back, Drago, said the man, who had burgundy red hair and golden eyes. Nice to see you, Izuku said to Stain. Izuku, I thought no one could get up here? Kirishima asked. They can't, I brought him here. He is a royal guard, hopefully the first of a few. It's good to see him. Now I have a study session with my friends here, so please excuse us. Izuku and his friends then proceeded into the room. Time skipped to the day of practical exams. Do you know what you are going to be doing this year? Aizawa asked his class. Yeah, we are going to be fighting the robots from the entrance exam, Mina said. Wrong, Aizawa replied. From his scarf, Nizu appeared. Due to the villain attacks this year, you will be fighting the teachers, Nizu informed them. What? Most of the class yelled. Do not worry. The teachers will be wearing weights equal to half of their body weight, and you will be fighting them in pairs, Nizu reassured them. Due to the extra 2 people in this class, we will also be bringing in a hero for a pair, Aizawa added. As he finished, hawks descended from the sky. Hey, chicken, Izuku greeted. Well, look what the rat dragged in, Hawks said to Izuku. Nice to see you, sensei, Toga said to Hawks. Thank you, and nice to see you too. See, Izuku, you should learn some manners from your girlfriend, Hawks said. You just wish you had one, Izuku retorted. Enough, Nizu interrupted. The first match will be Kirishima and Sato versus Cementos. The last will be Izuku and Toga versus All Might, Nizu declared. Hey, Rat, why give me such an easy fight? Izuku asked. Because knowing you, you will end up destroying one of the battlegrounds. Now let's get started, Nizu said as they all went to their designated areas. Now there will be 2 ways to win. The first is to escape the battle area. The second way to win is to put these cuffs on the hero you are fighting, Nizu explained before pressing a button on a controller that displayed the matches. Kirishima and Sato versus Cementos. Koda and Jiro versus Present Mike. Yaoyorozu and Shoto versus Eraserhead. Aoyama and Uraraka versus 13. Ashido and Kaminari versus Nizu. Tokoyami and Azui versus Ectoplasm. Izuku and Katsuki versus Hawks. Ida and Siro versus Hound Dog. Katsumi and Shoka versus Vlad King. Ojiro and Shoji versus Power Loader. Durigo and Himiko versus All Might. When Toga and Izuku saw their match, they both smiled, startling their classmates and some of the teachers. Now that we have the matches, they will be going down in the order they appear, Nizu stated. After Kirishima, Sato, and Cementos left the room, Toga turned to Izuku. So, how bad are we off? She asked. Enough. Maybe we can show his true form to the class. That would be fun, Izuku replied, excitement sparkling in his eyes. Just then, Nizu appeared beside them. As long as you don't harm him, I and a few others will be fine with however you treat him, Nizu informed them. Thanks, uncle, Izuku said with a bright smile. Anything for my nephew and niece. With that, Nizu dashed away, scrambling up a wall and disappearing into the ventilation system before Izuku could catch him. That rat, Izuku muttered under his breath. He and Toga then made their way to watch the matches. On the screen, they saw Sato throwing punches at the cement walls that Cementos was creating, but Kirishima was nowhere in sight. After a couple of minutes, Sato began to slow down. Noticing this, Cementos stopped making walls and lowered his guard. Suddenly, Kirishima leaped out from an alley, tackling Cementos and putting the cuffs on him. Students win, a loud robotic voice announced. Kirishima and a very worn-out Sato walked into the room. Congrats on the win, Kiri, Izuku said. The credit goes to Sato. He had the hard part, Kirishima replied. Still, great job, Izuku said. Koda and Jiro then stepped up to face PM. As the match began, PM started shouting into the forest, causing both Koda and Jiro's ears to hurt, with Jiro even bleeding slightly. After 7 minutes, hundreds of bugs charged at PM, causing him to freeze and scream. Taking advantage of the distraction, both Jiro and Koda made it through the exit gate. Next up were Aoyama and Uraraka. They found themselves hanging off a railing to avoid being pulled into 13's black hole. Aoyama said something to Uraraka that made her let go of the railing, getting pulled in. However, 13, not wanting to actually harm them, turned her quirk off just in time for Uraraka to slam into her, knocking her down. Now on top of 13, Uraraka quickly put the cuffs on her, winning the match. Then it was Ashido and Kaminari's turn. Nizu, despite wanting them to fail, left more paths clear, allowing them to barely reach the exit. He did this to find joy in having Katsuki and Izumi be the only ones to fail. After Tokoyami and Azui finished their matches per canon, Katsuki and Izumi stepped up. As they entered the battle city, the fight began. Katsuki charged straight ahead, ignoring Izumi's warnings. Katsuki, listen. We can't face Hawks head-on. We have to ambush him, Izumi urged. He is nothing compared to me, Katsuki retorted, using his quirk to fly into the air. Izumi soon followed, using her quirk to float up to him. When she caught up, she noticed a large cut on Katsuki's arm and a gash above his eye. Suddenly, a red blur appeared, and Izumi realized it was Hawks. There you are. I thought you abandoned your teammate, Hawks said before flying toward her. Izumi stopped Hawks mid-air and prepared to strike, but at the last moment, Katsuki jumped in front of her, pulling the pin from his gauntlet and causing a massive explosion. Izuku couldn't stop in time and accidentally collided with Katsuki, injuring him. Once the smoke cleared, they saw Hawks blocking the fire with his wind, which was now singed but still usable. "Man, you are idiots." The first one charged in by himself and then interrupted his teammates' attack, Hawks remarked, appearing in front of Izumi and kicking her into the air. He then flew up to her and sent her crashing down to the ground. Katsuki charged at Hawks, pulling the pin in his other gauntlet. Hawks dodged, but Izumi, who was behind, was not so lucky. The explosion hit her, causing pain on her right side. Hawks decided to end the match before they could seriously injure each other. He appeared behind Katsuki and knocked him out with a swift strike. Then he walked over to the barely conscious Izumi and did the same. "Hero team loses," the robotic voice announced. Next, Ida and Zero stepped up to fight. As the match began, Ida started running around Hound Dog to distract him. Halfway through, Zero jumped out, attaching tape to Hound Dog in front of Ida. Ida grabbed the tape and continued running around Hound Dog, wrapping him up. Once Hound Dog was secured, Zero put the cuffs on him, winning the match. Katsumi and Shoko then entered the arena. As the match started, Katsumi used her explosives to reach Vlad, while Shoko slid on her ice, using her fire to propel herself. When they reached Vlad, Katsumi unleashed multiple explosions, creating a cloud of smoke. Using the cover, Shoko trapped Vlad in ice, and they quickly put the cuffs on him, winning the match. Shoji and Ojiro, once their match began, searched for Power Loader as they made their way to the gate. They never saw Power Loader but fought off waves of robots instead. Finally, Toga and Izuku entered for their match. "This should be fun to watch," Aizawa said. "Oh, it will be indeed," replied Nizu, the principal. Once they reached the battle city, they confronted All Might. "If you are so great and honorable," Toga began, "then take off the weights you are wearing and fight us at your full power, and I mean full power," Izuku finished. "If I win with the weights off, you must come back home," All Might replied, presenting an ultimatum. "And if we win?" Izuku asked. "Then my family will stop trying to get you back," All Might said. "Okay then, but when you lose, I will hold you to what you said here and now," Izuku declared. In a flash, Izuku disappeared in a blur of black and purple. When he reappeared, he was next to All Might, striking him on his injury from AFO, sending him crashing into a building with blood spilling from his mouth. Toga then landed in front of him, having flown up into the air, and shot a bolt of electricity at All Might. He managed to grab a piece of rebar nearby, deflecting the electricity. After throwing the bar, he stood up and blitzed Toga with a fast punch to her gut. But Izuku caught his fist just in time. All Might, feeling a surge of fear, struck Izuku on the head with his left arm, sending him tumbling across the street and leaving scratches on All Might's arm from Izuku's claws. Toga, having grown her own claws, lunged at All Might, slashing at his chest. Now able to react, All Might backhanded Toga into a nearby building. However, he sensed a tremendous killing intent from Izuku. Enraged, Izuku enveloped his fists in ice and electricity before dashing at All Might, landing multiple punches that sent him crashing through two buildings, causing the first to collapse. Toga, recovering quickly, soared above All Might and unleashed purple flames that melted the concrete around them. All Might barely managed to evade the direct line of fire, but the flames still left him severely burned. "Surrender, All Might, because you don't look so all right," Izuku taunted. "Never. The symbol can never give up," he replied, charging at Izuku. Due to his injuries, All Might was much slower now, making his attack pattern easy to read. Toga, now positioned behind All Might, swooped in and slashed at his right shoulder and the base of his neck, narrowly avoiding any major damage. Stumbling, All Might couldn't block Izuku's fist as it struck him again on his injury. With nearly all his strength depleted, All Might poured everything he had left into one final attack, but instead of targeting Izuku, who stood in front of him, he aimed at Toga, shouting, "United States of Smash." Izuku managed to leap in front of Toga, covering his body with protective scales that absorbed the impact, though he was sent crashing through 4 buildings in the process. All Might, unable to move but still in his muscular form, smiled, believing he had won. However, Izuku landed in front of him, breaking that smile. "Oh, symbol of peace, where is that smile you always have on your face?" Izuku questioned in his battle form. "No. I hit you with everything I had left. How are you still standing?" All Might asked, shock evident on his face. "Easy. My scales are harder than titanium." With that, Izuku brought his right elbow down on All Might's head, knocking him out. All Might, now unconscious, reverted to his skinny form, revealing it to the class that had been watching the fight. In the monitoring room, chaos erupted. "What happened to All Might?" shouted Ida, along with some of the other students. "Izumi, what happened to your father?" asked Momo. Izumi looked around, not responding to anyone. Izuku and Toga then returned to the room. All Might's power is weakening. He can only maintain his muscular form for about 2 hours. When he is not in that form, he is skinny and weak, Izuku informed them. "Do not tell everyone," screamed Green Telek. "Too late," said Aizawa with a smile. "Now that the fights are over, I will inform you that everyone will be going to a summer camp. However, those who failed Katsuki and Izumi will have to take extra classes with me while we are there. You have 2 weeks before we leave, so be ready." With that, the teachers walked away, and class ended for the week. "You have 1 week to prepare for a 2-week training trip in which you will learn how to better use your quirk," Aizawa announced to his class before dismissing them. "Man, what a day!" exclaimed Kirishima. "Do any of you guys and gals want to pick up any supplies we are missing?" "Yes. A trip to the mall. The whole class can go," Mina said excitedly, receiving nods and cheers in response. "Sorry, but I have something to do, so I will not be with you," said Shoto as he walked away. "Do whatever you want, extras," Katsuki yelled before striding off. "Toga and I will come along as well," Izuku replied after checking with Toga. This made Izumi, Katsumi, and Shoka think almost the same thing. "Yes, some time to be with my Oni-chan Izu-chan Zuzu." With the class in agreement, they all dispersed to meet up at the mall the next day, as it was Saturday. At the mall, Mina asked, "So what does everyone need?" Responses came in a flurry: bug spray, sleeping bags, hiking shoes, marshmallows, and training weights, of course. The last one came from Kirishima. "Okay, since people need a variety of things, how about we split up into groups to go to the stores?" Mina suggested, and everyone agreed. Once the groups left, only Izuku and Izumi remained, as they were not in a group. "What do you want to do, Oni-chan?" Izumi asked Izuku. In response, Izuku walked away quickly. Once he felt he was far enough, he ducked into a gap between shops. "There's that annoyance taken care of," Izuku muttered to himself. He waited for 10 minutes before turning to leave the alley when he felt something bump against his leg. Looking down, he saw a small girl with white hair, red eyes, and a horn growing from the right side of her forehead. She wore a ragged gown, bandages on her arms and legs, and no shoes. A faint connection tugged at him, though he couldn't quite place it. "Are you okay?" Izuku asked in a calm and friendly manner. Instead of answering, her eyes met his, revealing fear not entirely directed at him, but fear of something else. "I am sorry, my liege, but please don't let them take me away again," she pleaded, her voice quivering with evident fear. "Let who take you away?" he asked, kneeling down to comfort her. When he placed his hand on her shoulder, he felt her trembling. Realizing she was part dragon, he gently asked, "What is your name, little one?" "Eri," she whispered. "Please," she continued, hugging him tightly, "do not let him take me again." Just then, a man appeared at the alley's entrance, wearing white gloves, a green jacket with a burgundy collar, and a plague mask. "Sorry for my daughter, she is a bit clumsy. I have taught her better than that." "Now then, say sorry to the man," the stranger said. Izuku felt Eri shaking even more. "I am sorry, sir, but you are not her father. She also seems to not want to go back with you." "I will be taking her to the police so I can find her real family," Izuku said firmly. "Fine, I guess I'll do it the hard way." The man removed one of his gloves and touched the ground. Instantly, the area in front of him began to shift and move rapidly toward Izuku. Reacting swiftly, Izuku covered his torso and limbs with protective scales and turned to shield Eri. The spikes made contact with him, breaking upon impact, though he slid back a few feet. Quickly regaining his footing while holding Eri, Izuku attempted to flee, but the passage ahead closed off. He set Eri down and turned to face the stranger. In a flash, he was beside the man, delivering 2 swift punches to his gut before following up with an uppercut that sent the man stumbling back. The stranger touched the ground again, launching spikes at Izuku. As the man got back up, Izuku blocked the incoming spikes and formed a knife of shadows, blitzing the man and slicing above his left eye before stabbing him in the leg. With a swift kick to the chest, Izuku forced the man to the ground. Now visibly enraged, the man launched spikes toward Eri. Izuku jumped in front of her, shielding her from the attack, but one of the spikes grazed his side. Eri gasped and began to cry at the sight of the wound. Izuku wanted to comfort her but knew he had to finish the fight first. He extended his claws and charged at the man, slashing at every opening he could find. After a brief exchange, the man was left covered in claw marks, one of which obscured his vision. "You fight well. What do?" the man asked. "You tell me your name, and I'll tell you my occupation," Izuku replied. "You can call me Overhaul." "Now answer my question," the man said, now identified as Overhaul. "Hero course student at your service," Izuku responded. "So you're part of this infection that plagues the world," Overhaul remarked. He touched the ground again, sending more spikes at Izuku, but before they could reach him, he was struck by a bolt of lightning. "Took you long enough, Toga," Izuku said. "Hey, I only heard fighting 3 minutes ago and had to find it, leaving everyone else behind," Toga replied, a hint of frustration in her voice. Okay, just protect Eri. She is part dragon," Izuku instructed, handing Eri to Toga. He then turned back to Overhaul, who was busy repairing his arm from the burns. "So you were stalling for tea," Overhaul began, but he didn't finish as Izuku was already upon him with 2 daggers. One lodged in Overhaul's shoulder while Izuku brought the hilt of the other down on his head. Overhaul staggered back, only to receive a dagger to the knee, forcing him to the ground. Just as Izuku prepared to punch him, Heroes and the rest of his class arrived on the scene. However, Izuku managed to bind Overhaul in shadows. "Okay, what happened here?" one of the pro-heroes asked. "I will not speak of this matter until I am in a room with Nizu," Izuku stated firmly. "Look, kid, you can't give commands to us. Now tell us what happened here," another pro insisted. "No. This is a conflict within the dragons. I have no obligation to explain unless you want to take me to a police station and have Nizu meet us there." "The answer is no," Izuku replied. "Fine kid, come with us." The pros then escorted Izuku, Toga, Eri, and the bound Overhaul, leaving a confused class behind. In the police station's interrogation room, Izuku, Toga, and Eri sat together, the latter refusing to be separated from them. Observers watched through a one-way glass pane, including Nizu, Aizawa, All Might, and Takachi. "Why are 2 of my students in an interrogation room?" Aizawa asked. According to the report, they were fighting a well-known Yakuza boss named Overhaul over the little girl you see there, Takachi explained. "Well then, let's go see what this is about," Nizu said before leading Takachi into the cell. "Principal, nice to see you," Izuku greeted Nizu. "It is, though I wish it were under better circumstances." "Now, care to tell us what happened?" Nizu asked. "Well, sir, my class and I went to the mall to shop for our upcoming trip. I was left behind with Izumi, so I slipped away and hid in an alley. After about 10 minutes, Eri bumped into my leg and asked me not to go back. When I touched her shoulder, I realized she was part dragon. Then Overhaul appeared, claiming to be her father, which I knew was not true. Eri didn't want to go with him. Due to my suspicions, I said I would take her to a police station. He attacked me and her, and I acted in self-defense," Izuku explained. Nizu glanced at Takachi, who nodded in confirmation of Izuku's account. "Is Eri indeed part dragon?" Nizu inquired. "Yes, she is. Test her DNA, and you'll see that part of it is not human. You can use mine as a comparison. Just use saliva, as she doesn't seem to like needles," Izuku suggested. Nizu and Takachi left to have their DNA tested. After half an hour, they returned with the results and placed them in front of Izuku. As you can see, she is, as far as we can tell, part dragon. But also that, Takachi began, but was interrupted. That she is my sister's granddaughter. It looks like I found what my sister left in this world. Are there any other relatives? Izuku asked, as Toga hugged him tightly. None that are still alive. They are all deceased. This makes her your responsibility now, Nizu said. What will you do? Nizu, get the adoption papers ready, Izuku instructed. Nizu placed them on the table, and Izuku signed the papers, with Toga signing as well. Eri, come here. Once Eri approached the table, Izuku spoke with a smile. Eri, Toga and I are now your father and mother. Eri burst into tears, hugging both Izuku and Toga with all her might. I take it we are released now? Yes, since it was a dragon from afar, we have no say in what happens, including to overhaul, Nizu replied. Take me to him. Nizu then led Izuku and Toga to Overhaul's cell. What are you going to do to him? Takachi asked. Izuku and Toga entered the cell. Izuku then grabbed Overhaul and with Toga and Eri, vanished into shadows. Well, we will never see him again, will we? Unlikely, Nizu said before walking away. Izuku, Toga, Eri, and the unconscious Overhaul appeared in Izuku's mountain house. Stain, I have information to share. Izuku called from the courtyard. What is it? Stain asked as he approached. First of all, I now have a daughter, and I would like you to protect her when I am not around. Second, I have a prisoner, Izuku said, revealing Overhaul. I would like you to place him in the underground prison. Oh, and make sure he is uncomfortable, Toga added. If I am to guard your daughter, I cannot be trapped here, meaning he will be unsupervised. Does this also mean I now have a new identity? Stain inquired. Oh, he will be watched by some of the dragon spirits that guard the place. Yes, you do have a new identity, Shin Fukushu. You are a half-dragon I found shortly after returning to civilization, and I brought you to my home to train and learn our history to become a royal guard, Izuku explained. So you want me, a highly skilled killer, to guard your wife and daughter? Stain asked. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. I am very powerful, but I cannot be everywhere at once, and I fear that Overhaul's associates will come after Eri, Izuku replied. This also means I will be transformed into a half-dragon now? Stain asked. Yes, but let me be clear. If you ever turn your blade against anyone I love, I will not hesitate to stop you, Izuku warned in a serious tone. Okay, sir. When will you turn me into a dragon? Stain asked, trembling slightly. Tonight. I have to visit my soon-to-be in-laws to introduce my little snowball to them. Now, I will be leaving Overhaul in your hands. Izuku picked Eri up and wrapped Toga in a side hug before disappearing into his shadow. Well then, that leaves you with me. Let's see what you did to the girl, Stain, or Shin, said darkly to Overhaul before dragging him into the house, chuckling as he did so. Izuku and Toga appeared at her house. How do you think they will take this? Izuku asked Toga. I think that after we explain it to them, they will be overjoyed, Toga replied. And before? Izuku asked, concerned. They may threaten you, Toga said before going up to the door, unlocking it, and stepping inside. I'm home with Izuku and someone else. Who did you bring with you? Ms. Himiko asked as she emerged from the kitchen. In the living room, she saw Toga, Izuku, and a small white-haired child. Who's that cutie? This is Eri. She is now Izuku's and my child, Toga said with a smile. Ms. Himiko then appeared next to Izuku and playfully tapped him on the shoulder with a wooden spoon. Did you cheat on my daughter? Ms. Himiko asked with a teasing smile. No, never in a million years. Izuku quickly replied, kneeling slightly. Don't worry, Mom. Izuku and I adopted her today after rescuing her from a difficult situation, Toga informed her mother. Ms. Himiko then rushed over to Eri and began to shower her with affection. Say, Mom, when is Dad getting home? Toga asked. He will be home in about an hour, Ms. Himiko replied. Okay, we will be in here then, Toga said. Ms. Himiko returned to the kitchen to finish preparing dinner. So, Snowball, what kind of things do you like? Izuku asked Eri. I don't know, Eri said, looking down. Hey, don't worry about it. We just have to figure it out, Toga said, smiling brightly. Izuku and Toga then spent the next hour trying out different games. An hour later, the door opened. I'm home, Shin said as he walked in. Welcome home, dear, Hana replied. Are Toga and Izuku here? Shin asked after hearing noise coming from the living room. Yes, and they have a surprise, Hana informed him. Shin then walked into the living room to see a small, white-haired girl on Toga's back, chasing Izuku. Hello, dear Izuku. May I ask who this girl is? Shin asked, interrupting their game. Dad, guess what? Izuku and I now have a daughter. Toga exclaimed excitedly. Did you get my daughter PR'd in tea? Shin asked Izuku, a serious look on his face. No, sir. I found a descendant of one of my sisters and adopted her, Izuku explained. Good. Now let me meet my granddaughter, Shin said as he approached Toga to introduce himself to Eri. They then enjoyed a family dinner and watched some child-friendly movies. It was without a doubt the best day Eri had ever experienced.